Chapter 531, Frightening Talent. I've already set this place as a special forging room. You will have a higher success rate than even in the advanced forging rooms with any items you forge in here. The effects are especially obvious when you forge complicated and high-quality items. Hearing Shi Feng's explanation, Melancholic Smile and the others were so excited that they were speechless. This surprise was simply too huge. Players who had never produced a high-quality item before had no idea how difficult it was to produce one. It was an extremely delicate job. Not only was the success rate very low, but the slightest mistake would also result in the item's destruction. Naturally, practicing the forging process for a long time would help significantly. However, high-quality materials were extremely rare. They had no opportunity to experiment and familiarize themselves with the forging procedures. They could rely on their experience and hope that, after repeatedly producing the item, they would become proficient with the design and reduce the amount of wasted materials. With this simulation device, however, they could practice as much as they wanted to, constantly modifying and upgrading their techniques. This would be of immeasurable help to them. Moreover, after players became forgers in God's domain, if they wished to become a master forger, they had to create their own items. Otherwise, it would not be possible for one to become a master forger at all. Hence, players normally began to accumulate experience of creating items when they became basic forgers. By the time they became advanced forgers, they would attempt to create new items constantly. However, with this simulation device, they could save a significant amount of time and effort. Of course, this did not come without a price. The simulation device needed energy to run, and magic crystals supplied that energy. Fortunately, it was relatively easy to obtain magic crystals. After all, they had a certain drop rate from dungeons. Guild leader, you're too awesome. Indescribable joy filled Cream Cocoa when she stepped into the room. Although Melancholic Smile and Roasted Ironheart were not as simple-minded and pure as Cream Cocoa, not revealing their thoughts so easily, they still could not help but approach the magic water ball when they entered the room. They loved all of the tools in this room so much that they simply could not bear to part with them. They would not trade this forging room away even if someone offered them a luxury car. The value of this special forging room far surpassed those luxury cars. Moreover, one could not buy a special forging room so easily. In the Forging Association, the advanced forging room was the best one could rent. Special forging rooms were only available in 2-star shops or above. This was also why so many players in the past had dreamed of upgrading their shops to 2-star status. The fragrant aroma inside the special forging room relaxed anyone who came into contact with it. The environment inside the room could also be adjusted to suit the user. Just the impact the forging room provided to one's mental state was significant. Using this room was practically a luxury. Not to mention, the flame and tools in an advanced forging room could not compare to those in this room. Although the flame in the special forging room could not match a Tier 2 mysterious flame, it was very close. However, Shi Feng had already switched the flame here to the ice blue devil flame, further increasing the forging success rate. The special forging rooms are extremely limited in number. A 2-star shop only has 5 rooms. Among them, I have reserved 3 for you guys. I've already given you the authority over these rooms, so you will only be able to enter your respective special forging room. As for the remaining 2, I've set one as an alchemy room and the other as a forging room. Melancholic, if you find anyone talented in alchemy or forging, you can let them use these 2 rooms. However, you must first have them sign another contract. The effects that special workshops provide are extraordinary. It improves a player's techniques. It is far more valuable than any mere forging design, Shi Feng said sternly. Guild leader, you can rest assured, I won't allow any of those traitorous bastards near these special forging rooms, Melancholic Smile assured. While it was difficult to obtain forging designs in God's domain, it was many times more difficult to train a highly skilled lifestyle player. This was precisely the function of these special training rooms, so they would not use them to nurture traitors. Afterward, Shi Feng let Melancholic Smile handle the remaining matters regarding the candlelight trading firm and logged out of the game. It was already daytime in the real world, with the sun shining brightly in the sky. I played for so long and never noticed. Shifeng smiled bitterly when he looked at the time, discovering that it was already nearing 1 p.m. However, there was nothing Shifeng could do about that. Not only had he come across such a priceless opportunity to evolve the Icarus's heart, but he had also obtained a shop promotion order. He could not log out of the game even if he wanted to. After Shifeng ate and was about to rest, his quantum watch rang. "Hello, Master Shifeng. I have completed the task you requested yesterday. You can have people visit the training area at any time," the female assistant, Liang Jing, reported respectfully through the video call. Ever since the fight at Big Dipper, he had become popular in Jinhai City. Many of Jinhai City's powerful figures hoped to meet with Shifeng. Unfortunately, Shifeng had rejected all of these requests. He had not been trying to be arrogant by doing so, he just did not have the time to spare. His future development was not aimed towards the world of fighting, but towards God's domain. Naturally, he could not waste too much time and effort on physical competition. Besides, these interpersonal relationships mattered little to Shifeng. If not for his victory over a top-tier master like Lei Bao, these people would not attempt to befriend him. If he had not defeated Lei Bao, these people would not even care if he existed. In other words, a person's strength was the key to success. As long as he continued to grow stronger, many more high-profile figures would seek his company. Hence, Shifeng had instructed Liang Jing to handle these affairs for him, and he had to admit that this female assistant was quite capable. Not only had she managed to dismiss all those who wanted to meet him, but she had also done it in a way that satisfied everyone. However, all these were only small matters. What truly amazed Shifeng was her integration of Big Dipper's inner training area and the training system's improvement. Even Shifeng admired Liang Jing's capabilities. She had actually accomplished all of this in such a short time. No wonder Chairman Xiao had her as his head assistant. Shifeng read through the information Liang Jing had sent, shocked by what he saw. This was the first time Shifeng had seen such management abilities. She was leaps and bounds above a manager like Blackie. Management talent? Shifeng suddenly thought of another matter. The guild's daily affairs have hampered Aqua's progress of her combat techniques lately. Moreover, I will also need someone to help integrate the Candlelight Trading Firm and Zero Wing. Melancholic Smile has been busy dealing with this so far, not giving her much time to improve her own forging techniques either. At this rate, the two of them will soon be buried in management work. What if I have Liang Jing handle these affairs? Shifeng pondered as he gazed at Liang Jing's image on the screen. If he had someone who could liberate Aqua Rose and Melancholic Smile from their management duties, allowing them to display their original talent fully, it would benefit both Zero Wing and the Candlelight Trading Firm's development. Liang Jing was a very good option for this position. However, Liang Jing was Xiao Yu's subordinate. Meanwhile, both Zero Wing and the Candlelight Trading Firm possessed many secrets. It was an extreme risk to hand their management over to an outsider. There was also the fact that Shifeng had little to no knowledge of this female assistant. While Shifeng focused on Liang Jing, the latter also noticed Shifeng's odd gaze, and she could not help her discomfort. He couldn't be. Chapter 532, The Most Powerful Newbie. Shifeng's current status in society was worlds apart from what it had been. Although he did not exude any sort of aura, from Liang Jing's point of view, this silence weighed down on her. Previously, she had belittled Shifeng. Although she had not said anything, she had struggled to accept Xiao Yu's instruction to escort a youthful little brat like Shifeng to the assembly hall. Hence, she had purposefully treated Shifeng with a little disrespect. Now, however, Liang Jing regretted her actions. She really shouldn't have treated Shifeng impertinently back then. After all, someone who could earn Chairman Zhao's respect wouldn't be an ordinary character, even if it were only a young man in his early 20s. He can't be thinking of replacing me, right? Liang Jing worried. There were countless people out there who dreamed of becoming the assistant to a character like Shifeng. In the VIP room that day, many of Jinhai City's influential figures had hoped to send Feng's assistance, taking the chance to deepen their relationship with the popular young man. Meanwhile, she had only received this job due to her advantage of being Xiao Yu's most valued assistant. If Feng dismissed her, only tragedy would await her. She had seen countless wealthy and well-stated princelings who were immeasurably arrogant. These people got rid of anything or anyone that irked them. Meanwhile, a successful young man such as Feng, whose status in society was far superior to even Xiao Yu's, was even more likely to behave in such a way. Watching Feng's solemn gaze, Liang Jing's heartbeat accelerated. Am I going to be fired, just like that? Liang Jing inwardly despaired. Suddenly, Feng spoke. Miss Liang Jing, thank you for your trouble. I'll leave to inspect the training grounds you've arranged in a moment. Although Feng might appear to gaze at Liang Jing solemnly, in reality, he was simply pondering how he should go about making Liang Jing one of his people, liberating both Aqua Rose and Melancholic Smile's potentials. He had not paid any attention to Liang Jing herself. However, after considering the matter for some time, he had not come up with a proper solution. Hence, he could only set the matter aside for now. After all, Liang Jing was someone Xiao Yu had sent. If Liang Jing became the manager of Zero Wing and the Candlelight trading firm, she would wield the core secrets of both organizations. Hence, Feng needed to be careful with his decision. Although Liang Jing's management capabilities were extraordinary, he first needed to familiarize himself with her personality. He had time to make the decision after he got to know her a bit. Liang Jing was surprised. Inadvertently, she breathed a sigh of relief. She had fully expected Feng to dismiss her when he opened his mouth to speak. Hurriedly, she said, Master Feng, I'll have a car sent to receive you immediately. Meanwhile, at the Big Dipper Training Center, the situation had undergone a massive transformation. The training center's employees were all in an extraordinarily good mood. Even the guests who frequented the training center were in a fiery mood. The training center had regained its past popularity. By now, everyone had heard the news that the Big Dipper Training Center had finally recruited a top-tier master to serve as an instructor. In this age, where mankind focused on personal fitness, everyone placed great importance on their own physical condition. Only through proper training and the assistance of medicine could one significantly improve their lifespan. In the past, people who had survived past the age of 100 were extremely rare. In today's society, however, many were easily capable of living past 120 years old. In addition, they could retain their youth for a long period. In the past, one would practically lose all semblance of youth past the age of 50. Now, however, even after reaching 70 years old, some still possessed their youthful vigor and appearances as if they were in their 40s. However, they were mostly martial arts masters. Ordinary people had yet to reach that level of health. In the past, Tai Chi grandmasters had lifespans surpassing 150 years. In the ancient world, that had practically been a miracle. Nowadays, with the support of technology, it was not impossible for humans to live that long. Hence, many people wish to strengthen their own bodies. Master Feng, this is the training ground the company has prepared for you. What do you think? Liang Jing pointed towards an exotic and elegant 3-story villa. Originally, the company had planned to turn this into a resort gold status members or above. However, when Feng requested a training ground that was free of disturbances, the only place they could think of that fit Feng's requirements was this villa. This villa was equipped with state-of-the-art training equipment, and the building's surroundings were the best Big Dipper Training Center had to offer. There was even a gravity training room in the villa that could fit up to several hundred people at a single time. When Liang Jing heard that the company had assigned this area to Feng, she was greatly shocked. This Greenwater Villa was Big Dipper's treasure. Now, the company had actually given Feng full authority over this place. Liang Jing had only realized how important Feng was to the company after this decision had been made. Not bad. This is an impressive location. Feng nodded his head with satisfaction. In reality, he had both visited and lived in the Greenwater Villa before. It was certainly a valuable area. Shi Feng had even considered moving the guild's core members here, particularly the upper managers of the workshop. Although the workshop he had bought was quite good, the facilities available there were nothing compared to the Greenwater Villa. Miss Liang Jing, can I trouble you to ask Chairman Xiao to move all 10 virtual gaming cabins we previously agreed upon here? Shi Feng asked after giving it some thought. Nurturing experts was easier said than done. Naturally, the more advanced the training and recovery facilities were, the more progress those experts could make. In particular, the gravity training room was immensely helpful to players. Hence, Shi Feng planned to move a portion of Zero Wing's core members to the Greenwater Villa. He also intended to move here. By doing so, he could give pointers to others at any time. He could also scour for talents at the Big Dipper Training Center. God's Domain was unlike any other virtual reality game as it placed heavy emphasis on actual combat. The further one progressed in the game, the more realistic and difficult the battles would become. Producing experts would become much easier if he chose to nurture players who were already somewhat skilled in combat. Master Shi Feng, please rest assured. I will have the 10 virtual gaming cabins installed in the Greenwater Villa by today. I will have the S-rank nutrient fluids sent over as well, Liang Jing said slowly. The Big Dipper Training Center had already gone all out this time. Both the virtual gaming cabins and the S-rank nutrient fluids were extremely difficult to obtain. However, in order to rope in Shi Feng, they spared no expense or effort. Following which, Shi Feng notified Blackie and the other upper managers, having them come to Big Dipper's Greenwater Villa. Brother Feng, am I dreaming? We can really live here? Blackie asked with disbelief when he arrived before the Greenwater Villa. For commoners like himself, the Big Dipper Training Center was a place he could not visit even if he wanted to. Only members were allowed here. As for the villa before him, normal members were probably not even allowed here. Yet, now, people like them had the chance to live in this villa. They were merely professional gamers. To a massive existence like the Big Dipper Training Center, they were negligible. Even Fire Dance, Violet Cloud, and the 5 demon generals standing beside Blackie were stunned into silence. They were just commoners in real life. They did not dare consider entering such a high-class location. Even the Zero Wing workshop Shi Feng had established had surprised them. They had never known that a gaming workshop could be so luxurious. Now, they were even more surprised. They were actually going to live in such a high-class villa. Everyone had yet to learn about Shi Feng being a martial arts master, much less about the fight that made him famous overnight. Big brother Shi Feng, I heard that the daily rental here is very expensive, Violet Cloud worriedly commented. That's right. Normally, each person has to pay several thousand credits per day to stay here. However, from today onwards, this will be Zero Wing's training base. Shi Feng nodded. It is not as easy to mingle in God's domain as you think it is. Hence, from today onwards, I will work with all of you frequently. However, I will only instruct you on your combat techniques in God's domain. I'll leave your training in the real world to someone else. Someone else? Everyone was surprised. That's right. This is Master Lei Bao. He has only recently joined Zero Wing, and from today onwards, he will handle your daily training. This is a rare opportunity that many will never have no matter how much they wish for it, so you must cherish it, Shi Feng introduced the martial arts master. Although he was skilled in God's domain combat, he did not know how to train people in the real world. On the other hand, Lei Bao was a bona fide top-tier master, someone who was only a short distance away from reaching the realm of Grandmaster. When it came to training people in the real world, Lei Bao was far more qualified than he was. Chapter 533, Overwhelming Force. When the group heard Shi Feng's introduction, they were dumbfounded. Everyone present knew just how precious a martial arts master was. Many professional fighters would do anything just to receive advice from a martial arts master, let alone personal tutorage. Moreover, their instructor was a top-tier master. Never in their dreams would something like this happen. For a second, Blackie and the others even thought that they had heard wrong. However, after spending time in God's domain, everyone's senses had improved considerably. By now, they were already capable of making a rough estimate of another person's strength. Lei Bao also made no attempt to hide his beast-like aura in the slightest. Just basking in his aura made their bodies feel heavier. If not for Shifeng standing beside Lei Bao, they would have fled immediately, as this oppressive feeling was truly unbearable. Although none of them knew Lei Bao's exact strength, none of them doubted that Lei Bao could wipe the floor with all of them in less than 10 seconds. Master Lei Bao, I'll have to trouble you, then. Shifeng could see everyone's surprise and knew how incredulous of a situation was. However, this was all definitely real. Not even famous professional fighters would have access to these benefits. If Blackie and the others could not improve with Lei Bao's help, then he really had no other means of helping them. In the past, under Shadow's arrangement, Shifeng had sought out many masters to learn from. He had not been as lucky as Blackie and the others. Being stood up by a martial arts master after several weeks of waiting was a normal occurrence to Shifeng. As for personal tutorage, that was just a dream. No problem. Since we agreed upon this beforehand, I will hold up my end of our bargain. Lei Bao nodded. He then shifted his gaze to Blackie and the others, faintly smiling. He said, "All of you, follow me. I'll have a look at your foundations before planning your training." Under Lei Bao's watchful gaze, everyone felt their hair stand on end. They all had a bad premonition about what was to come. Unfortunately, with Lei Bao's personality, even if they did not want the training, he would not show any mercy. Guild leader, the group sent pitiful looks towards Shifeng. However, Shifeng only waved them off. With Lei Bao's training, Shifeng hoped that they could learn how to control their bodies more efficiently. Once they learned that control, they could display frightening combat power in God's domain. When it came to control over one's body, Lei Bao had reached perfection. That he had reached the standard of tiger roaring showed that Lei Bao knew a unique method to train his physical control. Otherwise, he could never train his body to the degree of merging his internal and external power. Compared to a half-baked martial arts master like Shifeng, Lei Bao was a powerhouse. While Lei Bao trained Blackie and the others, Shifeng did not remain idle as he headed towards the Greenwater Villa's gravity training room. Now that Shifeng's brain activity had significantly improved, if he wished to control the lock on his physical power completely, he needed to possess sufficient strength. Otherwise, his body would crumble, unable to withstand the sudden release in power. Lei Bao, on the other hand, was different. He was a true martial artist, someone who had trained in the arts since he was young. Even if he released the limiter his brain had placed on his body could easily handle the additional power. The gravity training room would help enhance physical toughness immensely. There were also various medicine and healing cabins available for one to recuperate as they needed. Since Shifeng had access to these facilities, he had to train as much as he could. After Shifeng had spent half the day training, Liang Jing had finished with her tasks at the Greenwater Villa. Currently, every Zero Wing member had a virtual gaming cabin in their room, coupled with an unlimited supply of A-rank nutrient fluids. However, the most valuable item was still the S-rank nutrient fluids. Each person had received one bottle. With it, everyone could fully replenish their brain's energy. Such expenditure had left even Liang Jing, someone who had seen various aspects of high society before, stunned. Not only was there a top-tier martial arts master serving as an instructor, but everyone had also been provided with a bottle of S-rank nutrient fluids. How was this supposed to be training for professional gamers? Those who did not know better might even think that these youths trained to participate in the national fighting competition. Was such extravagance necessary just to play a game? Shifeng could very much relate to Liang Jing. The chances of a single guild currently spending so much to nurture their experts were nil. The same could be said even for super guilds. However, that was simply because no one had realized the importance of a top-tier expert yet. Moreover, God's domain had only recently become popular, so its influence over the real world was still very faint. However, with the passing of time, God's domain's popularity would grow, and soon, it would become a part of everyone's daily life, becoming a true second world of mankind. People had the chance to live a different life in God's domain. They could explore all the mysteries this new world had to offer and perform feats that were normally impossible. The wealth one could earn in the game was immeasurable, and various fighting competitions would come to God's domain. These competitions were even more exciting than the fights in the real world. After Shi Feng instructed everyone on their combat techniques in-game, he retired to his room and logged in, beginning a new day in God's domain. The moment Shi Feng logged in, he began to open Twilight treasure chests. Without hesitation, he activated Divine Providence and sacrificed 100 life force points. Inside the quiet forging room, the 12 Twilight treasure chests on the floor released a dazzling aurora that filled the room. Huh. It can't be, right? It's possible to obtain this, too? Shi Feng looked at the golden book in his hand. Shi Feng was already relatively happy about being able to obtain several more pieces of Tier 1 set equipment from the 12 treasure chests. However, upon seeing this glowing golden book, his joy became utter shock. The Book of Gold. This was the best possible item a lifestyle guild could obtain from the Twilight treasure chest. This book was not any ordinary item. It was a consumable item that would vanish after use. To an individual lifestyle player, this book's effects were not particularly significant. To a lifestyle guild, however, it surpassed even that of an epic item. Book of Gold, consumable. Permanently increases the proficiency of a single player's lifestyle skill by 1 rank to a maximum of master rank. Can also be used to increase the proficiency of 100 players' lifestyle skills by 1 rank to a maximum of advanced forger, for 2 days. With this item, I can temporarily promote those advanced forging apprentices to basic forgers and promote Cream Cocoa and the others to intermediate forgers, significantly increasing their production speed and success rate. Shi Feng could already imagine just how frightening the candlelight trading firm would become with a sudden influx of so many basic forgers. Although there was only a gap of 1 rank between a basic forger and an advanced forging apprentice, it was a massive gap. Using the light stones as an example, while advanced forging apprentices only had a success rate of 20% to 30%, basic forgers had a success rate of 60% or higher. Not to mention, many items required one to be at least a basic forger to craft them. Until now, there were only 3 basic forgers in all of White River City, Melancholic Smile and the other 2. Other cities might not even have 1 basic forger, let alone 3. If the candlelight trading firm had 100 forgers, its impact on the market would be astronomical. Most likely, even if one added together all the forgers throughout Star Moon Kingdom right now, that number would not even reach half of the candlelight trading firms. Melancholic, contact all trustworthy advanced forging apprentices immediately and have them gather in the 5th floor meeting room. Shi Feng did not wish to leave the Book of Gold unused. Chapter 534, Fire Dragon Potion. Maple City, overwhelming trading firm. Master Aspiration, may I know if you are satisfied with the overwhelming trading firm's advanced alchemy room? Yulan asked softly as she watched the white-haired old man standing beside the workbench. Currently, this old man held a purple glass bottle and gently swirled it around. Yulan was extra careful when dealing with this old man, Master Silent Aspiration, treating him with more respect than even Feng Xianyang. Although this white-haired old man was already past 70 years old, even Underworld's upper management had to show this man great respect, much less a young woman like herself. Before Yulan had even been born, this old man had explored virtual reality games for many years. And throughout all these years, he had focused fully on the art of alchemy. In this day and age, nobody in the virtual gaming world's alchemy industry did not know the name Silent Aspiration. Old man Silent Aspiration was already a basic alchemist. Meanwhile, if Shi Feng could see the potion this old man was concocting right now, he would find it both shocking and familiar. The potion in the glass bottle was a fire resistance potion. However, it was not just any fire resistance potion. It was a modified variation. In the past, this potion had been known as the Fire Dragon Potion, and it had been extremely famous throughout God's domain. Not only did it provide more fire resistance than a basic fire resistance potion, but its duration was also much longer. Most importantly, the Fire Dragon Potion increased a player's strength by 10 points during its duration. The Fire Dragon Potion's effects could also stack to a maximum of 50 strength and 100 fire resistance. To an ordinary player, 50 strength was a significant increase, not to mention experts. Not bad. I never expected that you, little girl, could actually obtain such a good bottle. This has finally allowed me to complete my newly developed potion. Silent Aspiration smiled at the red liquid inside the purple bottle. Satisfied, he said, "Sure enough, it is as I surmised. Not only will the fire resistance stack, but the strength bonus will also stack. Seeing as the basic version of the potion already possesses such wonderful effects, let's call this the Fire Dragon Potion. Little girl, consider yourself lucky. Master Aspiration, you truly are amazing. You are actually capable of producing such a powerful potion. May I know the success rate for this Fire Dragon Potion?" Yulan's eyes lit up with joy when she saw the Fire Dragon Potion's effects. In order to convince Master Silent Aspiration to come to Maple City and help Overwhelming Smile, she had to go through much difficulty to obtain this set of mysterious iron alchemy equipment. However, compared to the value of this Fire Dragon Potion, a set of mysterious iron alchemy equipment was nothing considerable. Relax. If this old man crafts the potions personally, my success rate is 50%, and though the success rate of other alchemists might be below 30%, the materials I've used to concoct this potion are all common. It won't do much harm to waste some, Silent Aspiration laughed. To develop the Fire Dragon Potion, he had invested a lot of time. Otherwise, he would have long since become an intermediate alchemist by now. Many thanks for Master Aspiration's help. Now that we have the Fire Dragon Potion, as long as we nurture a large number of alchemists, the Candlelight Trading Firm will no longer be a problem, Yulan said confidently. As the creator of the Fire Dragon Potion, Silent Aspiration could distribute its recipe to as many people as he wanted. It would be extremely easy for the Overwhelming Trading Firm to develop a small army of alchemists. Moreover, the Overwhelming Trading Firm would have exclusive rights to sell the Fire Dragon Potion. It was far more precious than any rare forging design or recipe. It was impossible for anyone outside the trading firm to produce it. With this potion, who could possibly challenge the Overwhelming Trading Firm? I've already produced what you requested. Little girl, if you wish to keep me here, you need to remember the secret silver equipment you promised me, Silent Aspiration reminded her. To this old man, nothing was more valuable than refining his alchemy. In particular, the alchemy in God's domain was unbelievable. If possible, he would have immersed himself in research every day. Unfortunately, his equipment was not good enough. Otherwise, he would not have bothered helping Yulan. Master Aspiration, please rest assured. I have already found some clues leading to the set. I believe that it won't be long before we obtain a set of secret silver alchemy equipment for you, Yulan guaranteed. In the meantime, however, I will have to trouble Master Aspiration to produce a few more Fire Dragon Potion recipes. That way, I can earn the money required to buy the alchemy equipment quickly. This is a simple task, Silent Aspiration laughed. As time passed by, the various guilds throughout God's domain no longer competed over dungeons. Instead, they had shifted their focus to competing in trade. This competition only grew fiercer as more time passed. This shift had occurred because everyone had seen just how profitable the Candlelight Trading Firm was. After just 2 short days, many guilds had opened their own shops. Even Ouroboros had opened a shop in Starmoon City, though the shop was nowhere near the central district. However, Gentle Snow had not had much choice. She had seen just how much money the Candlelight Trading Firm raked in every day. By the time Ouroboros collected enough reputation points and coins to purchase a golden land, the Candlelight Trading Firm would have monopolized Starmoon City's trade. So, she made the decision to set up a shop in the city's outer district first. At the very least, the guild could gain a small income of coins this way. Meanwhile, Overwhelming Smile was even more amazing. Not only had the guild set up a shop in Maple City, but it had also opened another shop in White River City, challenging the candlelight trading firm. Young Master Feng, everything has been prepared. At noon, we should have a sufficient stockpile of the Fire Dragon Potion. At that time, our men will announce the sales of the potion throughout White River City. Even if the Overwhelming Trading Firm is not situated in the golden areas, everyone will still swarm the shop. Moreover, the Candlelight Trading Firm only has 3 people capable of producing the basic strengthened armor kits. When the time comes, it will fall to the Overwhelming Trading Firm. Excellent. Yulan, you've done splendidly this time. You were actually able to obtain something as valuable as the Fire Dragon Potion. With this potion, the Overwhelming Trading Firm will lure a large number of players. We'll reduce the prices for the other products as well. I want to see just how the Candlelight Trading Firm plans to compete. Feng Xianyang said gleefully. Underworld had money and manpower. They could easily obtain a large stock of materials. In addition to Silent Aspiration's unlimited supply of Fire Dragon Potion recipes, each additional basic alchemist they nurtured would be one more capable of producing the Fire Dragon Potion. Currently, the Overwhelming Trading Firm already possessed 6 basic alchemists. As more time passed, that number would only increase. On the other hand, the Candlelight Trading Firm had no way to increase the number of forgers who could craft basic strengthening armor kits, no matter how many basic forgers they hired. Meanwhile, Candlelight's unsatisfied customers would naturally run to the Overwhelming Trading Firm. After all, many level 25 dungeons required players to have fire resistance. One could say that the Fire Dragon Potion was more valuable to players than the basic strengthened armor kits. Moreover, every player only possessed limited funds. As the Fire Dragon Potion was cheaper than the basic strengthened armor kits, when comparing the benefits one could gain from the two, players would prioritize the Fire Dragon Potion. While Feng Xianyang fantasized about monopolizing White River City's trade with the Overwhelming Trading Firm, Shifeng's work was in full swing. To maximize the benefits of the Book of Gold, Shifeng allowed all trustworthy advanced forging apprentices to become basic forgers and had them produce light stones ceaselessly for 2 days. As for Shifeng himself, after becoming a forger, he had unlocked the forging design for the intermediate mana armor kit. Hence, throughout the duration of the Book of Gold, he focused on forging intermediate armor kits without rest. In addition, during this time, Shifeng had secretly recruited Gentle Snow's help to establish a few candlelight trading firms in several other major cities, particularly the major cities in Starmoon Kingdom's eastern region. However, as Shifeng's money was limited, he had only established basic shops in these cities' outer districts. To establish these shops, Shifeng had invested all of the money he had earned during this time. He even spent the money the guild had earned through guild quests. Guild leader, we have met our intended goal. We can begin operations at any time, Melancholic Smile reported. Although she was somewhat tired, excitement filled her eyes. Chapter 535, Difference in Background. Begin selling them in the shops, then. Shifeng nodded. During the past 2 days, Shifeng had nearly 100 basic forgers produce light stones constantly. Their stock of light stones was enough to supply multiple cities. In addition, the proficiency gained during this period had allowed many advanced forging apprentices to earn the promotion to basic forgers. With this, they could meet the public's demand even after their current stockpile ran out. Guild leader, how much should we sell them for? Melancholic Smile asked. Previously, she had focused on her work fully, giving no thought as to how much they should sell the light stones for. The materials used to produce the light stones were very common. A 20-piece stack of light stones cost less than 3 silver to craft. Factoring in a basic forger's success rate, which was just slightly above 50%, the total cost would be around 6 silver per stack. Simple. Sell each piece for 1 silver and each stack for 19 silver, Shifeng stated directly. Unlike the basic strengthened armor kits, which were considered luxury items to most ordinary players, light stones were commonly used items. So, its price was also very low. In the past, the starting price for light stones had also been roughly 1 silver per piece. Any higher and players would begin to feel cheated. However, as the number of players who could produce the item increased, the light stone's price would eventually fall to 50 copper per piece and 10 silver per stack. What about the intermediate mana armor kits? Melancholic Smile asked. In reality, Melancholic Smile didn't believe that the light stones were Candlelight Trading Firm's trump card. Rather, she believed that their success lay in the intermediate mana armor kits. Only Shifeng could produce the intermediate armor kit as nobody else had the design. This was the Candlelight Trading Firm's greatest advantage. Others might not realize this, but the reason behind Starstreak Trading Firm's fierce competitive edge was the basic mana armor kit. Even now, the basic mana armor kits were still highly sought after by elite players. Intermediate mana armor kit can be made into either physical or magical intermediate armor kit. Bound to character after equipping. Intermediate physical armor kit. Defense plus 200. Strength plus 10, endurance plus 12, agility plus 10. Maximum binding limit per character, 3, can only be bound to level 25 equipment or above. Intermediate magical armor kit. Defense plus 60. Intelligence plus 10, endurance plus 12, vitality plus 10. Maximum binding limit per character, 3, can only be bound to level 25 equipment or above. If a player equipped 3 intermediate mana armor kits, the total attributes they received would be the equivalent of wearing an additional piece of level 25 dark gold equipment. One could not buy level 25 dark gold equipment through the market even if they had the money. Many people offered prices of 20 gold or more for non-MT dark gold equipment, not to mention dark gold weapons and equipment for MTs. Currently, God's Domain's elite players were around level 25, so they could conveniently use the intermediate mana armor kits. Hence, now was the best time to sell them. However, it was also this reason that made it difficult for Shifeng to set the price for the kits. He could neither sell it too cheap nor too expensive. Moreover, there was also the fact that he wouldn't have a lot of free time to produce the intermediate mana armor kits. Let's set them a 5 gold for now, Shifeng said after pondering for a long moment. Although the various guilds currently busied themselves with commerce and had already spent a significant sum of money, they should still possess a small amount of gold. To claim the first clears of large-scale team dungeons, they would have no qualms about spending several hundred gold to equip a team fully with intermediate mana armor kits. Following which, Melancholic Smile began to prepare. Meanwhile, the overwhelming trading firm had also begun selling the Fire Dragon potions. This Fire Dragon potion is awesome. It can stack attributes and fire resistance. With this potion, raiding level 25 team dungeons will be a breeze. The only downside is the price. Each bottle actually costs 10 silver. The MT alone will require 5 bottles per run. Everyone else in the team will have to drink at least 1 bottle as well. What can you do about it? The overwhelming trading firm is the only place that sells this potion. However, if we can successfully raid 10 and 20-man hard mode team dungeons, we will more than earn back the cost. Overwhelming Smile's advertising had been very well timed. As the Fire Dragon potions went on sale, people began to promote the potion at the various lively locations throughout White River City. As a result, many teams, who had struggled with the level 25 dungeons that required high fire resistance, grew interested, and they had promptly run towards the overwhelming trading firm to purchase the Fire Dragon potion. Shortly after the Fire Dragon promotion went up for sale, some of the players visiting the Candlelight Trading Firm to purchase daily necessities discovered that something had changed. There were several new counters in the hall on the first floor. Initially, due to the recent increase to Candlelight space, the first floor had felt relatively empty. Now, however, it was just right. What is this? Curious players quickly flocked around the new counters. Hello, sir, this is our Candlelight Trading Firm's newest product, the Light Stone. With this item, you won't have to worry about not being able to grind at night, the NPC Beauty slowly explained. To ordinary players, nothing was more of a headache than grinding at night. At night, not only was monsters' vision unaffected, but there was also a certain increase to monsters' combat power. On the other hand, players' vision was considerably limited during nighttime, significantly affecting their combat power. However, this was still not the biggest problem. At night, because of the vision problem, it was much easier for monsters to ambush parties. Hence, ordinary players were normally afraid of grinding monsters in the dark. Meanwhile, the light stone just happened to brightly illuminate a large area, allowing players to see as if it were daylight. With this item, not only would monsters' strength remain unchanged, but it was also easier for players to avoid ambushes. Since players would be able to see as normal, they could also fight with their usual combat power, so grinding monsters would be as easy as it was during the day. Crap, there's actually such a good item available? How much is it? A player asked. As this is a new product, we are selling each light stone at the low price of 1 silver coin. You can also buy a stack of 20 at a discounted price of 19 silver coins. The NPC Beauty smiled brightly as she spoke. It's so cheap. I want 1 stack. Wait, I want 2 stacks. Suddenly, the players inside the hall began to purchase light stones madly. Although ordinary players did not make a lot of money, they normally formed parties when grinding in the fields. If they split the cost of 19 silver between each party member, they could easily afford the light stones. Moreover, each stack of light stones could last a party up to 2 nights. As long as one casually tallied up the accounts, the majority of the independent players would not miss out on this opportunity. An ordinary party could definitely earn more than 19 silver coins from 2 nights of grinding, not to mention an elite party. Very quickly, news of the light stone spread. Players who received the news immediately disregarded whatever they were currently doing and hurried to the candlelight trading firm. For a time, the light stones became far more popular than the fire dragon potion. What? You're saying that the candlelight trading firm is selling light stones in large quantities? Feng Xianyang was baffled when he heard this latest report from his subordinate. How is that possible? We even have to limit the number of fire dragon potions we sell each day. How could they possibly afford to sell light stones in large quantities? Where are they finding so many people to produce them? He had spent more than 50 million credits just to poach the 3 people capable of producing the light stones from the candlelight trading firm, yet, now, the trading firm was still able to offer so many light stones. How could he possibly believe such a ludicrous report? Wasn't that item extremely rare and precious? How could there be so many light stones suddenly popping up? Even if the 3 forgers of candlelight focused on producing light stones without rest, it would not be possible to produce so many. Young Master Feng, this information has been verified. It is real. Based on our initial estimates, more than 1,500 stacks of light stones have already sold. Even so, the candlelight trading firm continues to sell them without limit. Now, many of the overwhelming trading firm's customers have already run to the candlelight trading firm to shop. Shit. Shit. They scammed me of more than 50 million credits. They will pay for this. At this moment, Feng Xianyang finally came to a realization. The previous 3 advanced forging apprentices had been a trap set by the candlelight trading firm. He had lost over 50 million credits, just like that. Moreover, it had all been his own money. Instruct someone purchase light stones immediately. Buy as many as you can. I don't believe that they have an unlimited supply. Feng Xianyang commanded furiously. Chapter 536, Unshakable. Under Feng Xianyang's command, Yulan, who was currently in Maple City, gave a new command. Reduce their prices further. Miss Yulan, we won't earn much money if we reduce our prices any more than this, a female assistant cautioned. I don't want this, either. Yulan shook her head helplessly. The candlelight trading firm's new move is simply too effective. It actually obtains such a valuable product. Both ordinary players and elites require this light stone. Although our fire dragon potions are also very useful, only elite teams and various guilds can afford to buy them. Meanwhile, our stock of fire dragon potions is very limited. As a competitive edge, it stands no chance against the light stone at all. If they wanted to lure players to the overwhelming trading firm, their only option was to do so with their common products. Right, from this moment onwards, halt all sales of the fire dragon potion in White River City, Yulan said after giving it some more thought. Their supply of fire dragon potions had already been insufficient to meet the demands of Maple City. Now that they had opened a shop in White River City as well, their stock had stretched even thinner, further reducing the overwhelming trading firm's competitive edge. Moreover, there was a city tax imposed for selling the fire dragon potions in White River City. This was also a considerable expenditure. So, now, their best option was to maintain the overwhelming trading firm's competition in Maple City above all else. Understood, the female assistant then left the meeting room. Overwhelming trading firm's price reduction on its common goods had indeed attracted more ordinary players. Common items such as whetstones and advanced whetstones, various food and beverages, regeneration potions and mana recovery potions, basic scrolls and more were must-have items when grinding in the fields. Now that the overwhelming trading firm offered a 40% discount on these items, many ordinary players ran to its shops to purchase these items. For a time, the weakened overwhelming trading firm in Maple City suddenly stood on equal footing with the Candlelight trading firm. The Candlelight trading firm had the basic strengthened armor kits and the light stones. The overwhelming trading firm possessed the fire dragon potion and discounts on common goods. This situation overjoyed Maple City's players. While the Candlelight trading firm did not possess too large of an advantage in Maple City, in other cities, however, it was an entirely different story. The trading firm was like the sun at high noon in these cities. Because of the light stones, a large number of players swarmed the Candlelight trading firm's shops. Most of these players might have initially arrived with the intention of only purchasing the light stones. However, upon seeing the wide array of products the trading firm offered, they fell prey to temptation and bought other items as well. Suddenly, the Candlelight trading firm's income exploded. Meanwhile, the trading firm's most exaggerated sources of income were still Starmoon City and White River City. As the Candlelight trading firm had set up its shops on these two cities' golden lands, it had instantly become an unshakable player-owned trading firm there. The traffic other player-owned trading firms enjoyed was nothing compared to what the Candlelight trading firm saw. Starmoon City and White River City were Starmoon Kingdom's first and second most populated cities, respectively. Naturally, the income they could offer was astonishing. In a short few hours, the Candlelight trading firm had earned over 1,000 gold. Guild leader, why don't we set up a few more shops in other cities? Melancholic smile suggested when she saw the trading firm's profits. This was only the income from 7 cities. If they set up a shop in every city throughout Starmoon Kingdom. There is no rush. Right now, we are relying on the light stones produced by almost 100 basic forgers to barely meet the demands of these 7 cities. If we expand any further, it will do more harm than good. We should focus on nurturing a large number of forgers and alchemists, Shifeng said with utter calm. As for the income of over 1,000 gold in just a few hours, Shifeng did not consider it odd in the least. However, players only purchased the light stones in large quantities at the moment due to their lack of the item. Once they had their own stock, they would only need to purchase them to resupply. Hence, the Candlelight trading firm's income would decrease gradually as more time went by. Regardless, it would still be a frightening amount of money. Guild leader, what about the intermediate mana armor kits? Melancholic smile asked. Previously, Shifeng had told her to hold off on offering the kits for sale, confusing her. Have you not noticed that someone in White River City is buying light stones in absurd quantities? Shifeng laughed. There seems to be someone like that. When I examined the statistics, I discovered that someone had purchased 500 stacks in one go for a total of 95 gold. Afterward, two others had purchased 300 stacks and 400 stacks, respectively. Even if these people bought the light stones for their own guilds, they should not need to buy so many. Melancholic smile nodded. Someone is intentionally trying to clean out our stock of light stones. If we push out the intermediate mana armor kits right now, what would we do if that person stops buying our light stones? Since someone is willingly purchasing our light stones in large quantities, who are we to stop them from giving us their money? Shifeng laughed. The production of light stones was very fast. If a basic forger crafted them, the process for each stone would typically take around 6 to 8 seconds. After all, the materials only needed a little processing, and the finished product just needed a coating of magic runes. Though the process of adding the magic runes was somewhat troublesome initially, that would not be a problem once the forgers were accustomed to it. After that, the only problem remaining was the success rate. Basic forgers had a 60% success rate for forging the light stones. If they had good equipment and tools, their success rate could be increased to around 70% or so. In other words, as there were 48 hours in each day in God's domain, a single basic forger could produce roughly 20,000 light stones per day. If 100 people worked for 2 days continuously, they would have 4 million light stones. Moreover, this was only with the condition that basic forgers produced the light stones. This time, Shifeng had distributed all of the light stone forging designs, allowing many other advanced forging apprentices to learn it as well. Only, their production speed was slightly slower. 4 million stones were the equivalent of 200,000 stacks. If they sold each stone at 1 silver and each stack at 19 silver, one would have to spend 38,000 gold to purchase them all. In all of God's domain, Shifeng did not believe that anyone possessed 38,000 gold. And even if someone did, nobody would be so stupid as to spend it all on light stones. They would have long since invested it into buying lands. Currently, Feng Xianyang sat at one of the open-air tables in a high-class restaurant. He held a light stone in his hand, admiring it. This item's effects are truly impressive. If we buy out all the candlelight trading firm's stockpile, they will have no choice but to limit the amount they sell. At that time, it will be the overwhelming trading firm's time to shine. Feng Xianyang laughed coldly. It would be just like the basic mana armor kits. Back then, the supply of the basic mana armor kits had been too limited. As a result, the kit's price had risen from 20 silver to 40 silver when other players resold it. Even then, plenty of people still purchased them. As soon as the candlelight trading firm began limiting the amount of light stones it sold, he could turn around and sell the light stones he bought at an increased price. At that time, even if he sold them at 1.5 times the original price, a large number of players would still buy them. He would not have to fear a lack of customers. Young Master Feng, after using all the coins we bought with credits, as well as the coins earned through the overwhelming trading firm, we've purchased over 4,000 stacks of light stones. However, the candlelight trading firm shows no signs of limiting its sales, the slightly chubby middle-aged man reported worriedly, wiping the sweat from his forehead. What are you worried about? Now that we've purchased so many, they can't possibly have much left in their inventory. It won't be long before it is our time to shine, Feng Xianyang comforted the man, utter confidence filling each word. He had already asked the 3 advanced forging apprentices he had previously poached, so he knew that advanced forging apprentices had less than a 30% success rate for producing the light stones. Moreover, each stone required more than a dozen seconds to craft. Even if the candlelight trading firm had over a dozen people forging light stones constantly, it could not accumulate a large stock over a few days. After they had purchased so many stacks, even if the candlelight trading firm was not currently at its limit, it soon would be. Now, all he had to do was wait. Chapter 537, Legend Resurfaces. Inside the candlelight trading firm's serene and quiet special forging room, after spending a long time planning for the trading firm's future, the sound of his communicator ringing suddenly entered Shifeng's ears. He sure is fast. Shifeng's lips curled up when he looked at the name of the caller. The person contacting him this time was none other than Everlasting War, the person who had invited him to participate in the Dark Arena before. Shifeng promptly removed the demon mask's disguise, returning to his appearance as Yifeng. He then accepted the call and said, "Brother Everlasting, long time no see. It seems that your strength has risen significantly once again." He could not see Everlasting War's current level through the screen, but judging from the change in the other party's equipment, he could tell at a glance that Everlasting War had undergone quite an improvement. The last time Shifeng saw the Guardian Knight, Everlasting War was geared in a mix of fine gold and dark gold equipment, with the latter numbering only 3 or 4 pieces. Now, however, the majority of his equipment was giving off the glow effect of dark gold equipment. One could easily imagine how much his combat power had increased. Everything I am wearing right now came from the corporation. As long as Brother Yifeng officially joins the battle team, the corporation will naturally give you their full support as well, Everlasting War laughed. He was delighted with the equipment he was wearing right now. Otherwise, he would not have purposefully revealed their special effects. In reality, his objective in showing off his equipment was to display to Shifeng the strength of the corporation sponsoring their battle team. Such strength was indeed not something the guilds that one could find in the game could compare with. Take level 25 dark gold equipment for example. In the current god's domain, such an item was scarce, and every piece could sell for an astronomical amount. Moreover, even if one could afford it, there was no guarantee that they would have a chance to buy one. Even first-rate guilds only possessed several pieces. On the other hand, the majority of Everlasting War's equipment was level 25 dark gold equipment. The force backing him was evidently powerful. The time and venue for the test have already been set. It will be held 4 days from now in the Beast Empire's capital city, Beast City. At that time, you only need to come to the underground arena of Beast City. I will be waiting for you there, Everlasting War said, his expression suddenly turning serious. I hope that Brother Yifeng treats this matter seriously. During these 4 days, try to improve your equipment's quality as much as possible. I've heard that the higher-ups of the corporation have also found quite a few experts to participate in the test this time around. Among them, a few even possess powerful backers themselves, and they are mostly apex experts of the virtual gaming world. The competition this time is sure to be very intense. However, as long as you manage to pass it, the treatment you will receive will surely exceed your imagination. Thank you for your reminder. I will make sure to arrive on time, Shifeng laughed, not bothering to add anything else. As for Everlasting War's advice for him to upgrade his equipment, Shifeng had previously thought about doing so before. However, how could epic equipment possibly be that easy to obtain? Epic equipment? Shifeng could not help but ponder. At this point, he had already used up all the excess life force points he had saved up in the Icarus's heart. If he wished to upgrade the necklace to epic rank, he would have to collect the full 5,000 life force points required. However, after using that many life force points to open Twilight treasure chests, he had also obtained quite a harvest. Currently, he had also completed the Tier 1 set equipment for Shield Warriors and Guardian Knights. There were even a few extra set pieces for a second set. He had also completed the Tier 1 set equipment for Assassins, Elementalists, and Clerics. As for Berserkers, Rangers, and Druids, he was still missing one set piece for each class. He also obtained 2 extra set pieces for Swordsmen. Other than these Tier 1 set equipment, he had also obtained plenty of level 30 fine gold and dark gold equipment. Overall, his harvest was quite bountiful. It's been some time since I last targeted Overwhelming Smiles members. If I go for them again right now, they should not be too on guard against me. Shifeng licked his lips. There weren't many Twilight treasure chests remaining. If he could upgrade the Icarus's heart to epic rank and obtain another shop promotion order, at that time, the Candlelight trading firm would truly become unstoppable. Saying so, Shifeng immediately went into action. After leaving the special forging room, he immediately headed towards the teleportation hall. Although it was somewhat inconvenient to take action during daytime, with his standards, he would have no problems ambushing a bunch of elite players. Just as Shifeng arrived at Maple City, Melancholic Smile called him. Guild leader, that group of people has finally stopped buying light stones in bulk. Do we begin now? Melancholic Smile asked with anticipation. It had been quite some time since the light stones first went on sale. Now, the candlelight trading firm's income was gradually decreasing as the enthusiasm of players began to cool down. If they added more fuel to the fire at this moment, they were bound to deal the other player-owned trading firms a significant blow, as well as solidify the candlelight trading firm's position further. Okay. Since we've wrung them dry already, begin selling, then. Shifeng nodded. The reason why he chose not to sell the intermediate mana armor kits until now was his concern that some people would intentionally purchase them in bulk. Then, when the candlelight trading firm's supply of the kits ran out, these people could take advantage of the situation to deal with the candlelight trading firm, as well as earn a fortune while they were at it. Hence, Shifeng planned to utilize the light stones first, to deplete the funds of these people. Soon, another new counter appeared simultaneously in the first-floor halls of the various candlelight trading firms. Why was another counter added to the candlelight trading firm? A berserker, who had come to purchase light stones, asked curiously. Hello, sir, this here is our candlelight trading firm's latest product, the intermediate mana armor kit. This item will greatly increase your attributes. Moreover, you can equip up to 3 kits at a time, the beautiful NPC saleswoman explained. What? This is the intermediate mana armor kit? The berserker was stunned. The basic mana armor kits had long since become a legend in the city. Currently, each kit sold for 50 silver. Even so, many still wished to buy it. Unfortunately, there just was no supply for the item. Now that the intermediate version of the kits had suddenly appeared, how could this not be surprising? After the berserker read the item description of the intermediate mana armor kit multiple times, he was finally sure that he was not hallucinating. Such powerful attributes. Just a single intermediate mana armor kit is equal to 3 pieces of the basic version. The berserker's eyes shone dazzlingly, his drool nearly leaking out of his mouth. The attributes of the intermediate mana armor kit were simply too shocking. As long as one could equip 3 of these kits, it would be equivalent to wearing an additional piece of level 25 dark gold equipment. Currently, despite the high demand for level 25 dark gold equipment, supply for it was practically non-existent. Countless people could not buy one even if they wanted to. If he could equip 3 intermediate mana armor kits right now, it would be equivalent to having an additional piece of level 25 dark gold equipment. Just imagining it exhilarated the berserker. Battles in God's domain relied on 2 things, the player's techniques and the player's attributes. At this stage of the game, even if one had passable techniques, they would still have to consider the attributes of their equipment before they could try raiding a dungeon. To an ordinary player, even being fully geared in mysterious iron equipment was a dream, not to mention owning a piece of dark gold equipment. The attributes of a single piece of dark gold equipment could easily rival that of multiple pieces of mysterious iron equipment. If an ordinary player could equip 3 intermediate mana armor kits, it would no doubt result in a massive increase in strength. Crap. I was only missing just that bit of attribute to qualify for that 20-man team dungeon last time. If I can equip 3 of these intermediate mana armor kits right now, the team leader will definitely beg me to join them. The berserker could not help but fantasize. However, when he laid his eyes on the price of the kits, each intermediate mana armor kit actually cost 5 gold. Suddenly, the berserker was dumbfounded. Although ordinary players could not afford to buy the kit, news about it still spread like lightning. The kits became the headline news on the official forums right away. Shocking emergence of the intermediate mana armor kits. Chapter 538, Causing a Commotion in Starmoon Kingdom. The appearance of the intermediate armor kits immediately caused a commotion. News about the candlelight trading firm spread like a pandemic throughout the entire Starmoon Kingdom. In just a dozen minutes or so, the initially fading hype over the candlelight trading firm surged once more. Players throughout the kingdom were behaving even more wildly than before. The light stone was merely common goods. Although it was of significant help to players, it did not provide any direct improvements towards a player's strength. It belonged to the category of support items. However, the intermediate mana armor kit was different. This was an item whose sole purpose was to increase a player's attributes. Moreover, it provided a considerable increase. Upon receiving news regarding this matter, many elite parties and teams that were out in the field immediately dropped what they were doing and rushed back to their respective cities. They made a straight dash to the candlelight trading firm to purchase the intermediate mana armor kits. If they were even a little too slow, other players would no doubt buy out the kits. It would be just like the basic mana armor kit, which had already passed into legend. According to the legend, many players who had managed to purchase the basic mana armor kits when they were initially released had already become experts by now. Some ordinary teams had also become top-tier teams capable of challenging hard mode, and even hell mode, team dungeons. However, hell mode was only limited to 10-man dungeons. To the majority of independent players, 20-man team dungeons were simply too difficult a challenge. The requirement of such dungeons on a player's equipment foundation was just too high. The requisite level in combat techniques was also extremely high. Only a small number of guild elite teams could clear such dungeons. Team leader, I've just received news that the intermediate mana armor kits are selling for a fraudulent price of 5 gold per kit. We can't afford them even if we want to buy them. They are indeed expensive. Even so, we still have to buy them. We must obtain them even if we have to borrow money to do so. I have deeply regretted not getting the basic mana armor kits. You should know our performance inside team dungeons as well. We are always short of just that small amount of damage and defense. Unfortunately, no matter what we do, we aren't able to upgrade our equipment any further. In the end, those teams that had the luck to buy 3 basic mana armor kits managed to brute force their way through the bosses. Right now, a single intermediate mana armor kit could match up to 3 basic mana armor kits. As long as we get our teams empty 3 of these kits, we will be able to defeat the bosses of the team dungeon. At that time, won't it be easy to earn back the money we spent? Many independent teams out in the field maps began taking action, using all means to collect money. To elite teams, collecting 5 gold was still relatively easy. However, it would be very difficult if they wished to obtain 15 gold. Even so, they still endured the hardship as they tried to amass 15 gold. After all, the effects of having an additional piece of level 25 dark gold equipment on an MT was quite significant. Normally, 20-man normal mode team dungeons dropped mysterious iron rank, secret silver equipment only dropped if one possessed heaven-defying luck. Meanwhile, there were only 3 or 4 bosses inside a team dungeon, and each boss dropped just 2 or 3 pieces of equipment. On average, one could get roughly 10 mysterious iron equipment with each dungeon run. After factoring in the money and items obtained from the dungeon monsters, a team earned around 4 gold to 5 gold each time they raided a 20-man normal mode team dungeon. There was also the need to factor in the team's various expenses, loss of EXP, and such, which further reduced the team's profits. Not to mention, the team's 20 members would split this profit. In the end, each member of the team would receive only a meager amount of money. However, the income one could obtain from a hard mode team dungeon was significantly higher. The bosses inside such a dungeon would drop at least 1 secret silver equipment with nearly a 100% certainty. There was even the possibility of bosses dropping 2 or 3 pieces of secret silver equipment at the same time. Even the monsters of the dungeon had a fixed chance of dropping mysterious iron equipment. Another point was that only hard mode team dungeons dropped certain necessary raw materials. After adding up the various types of income, a team would typically earn at least 10 gold from every dungeon run, more than double that of normal mode team dungeons. If a team managed to clear a normal mode team dungeon, they would be able to sate their hunger at most. However, if they succeeded in raiding a hard mode team dungeon, they would be able to dine like kings. Every time inside bars, there was bound to be some amazing teams celebrating their successful raid over a hard mode team dungeon, earning the envy of the surrounding players. Now that everyone received such an opportunity again, the players naturally had to make a desperate effort for it. For a time, players swarmed the candlelight trading firm. However, a majority of the players who came were only here to act as a placeholder for now. That was right, a placeholder. The teams backing these players were currently still in the midst of collecting money. As soon as they gathered enough, they would immediately purchase the intermediate mana armor kits from the trading firm, afraid that the kits would sell out. Although few independent players could afford the intermediate mana armor kits, it was an entirely different story for guilds. Guilds were already willing to invest thousands of gold in a single shop, not to mention spending several hundred gold to equip their core teams with intermediate armor kits. If guilds could fully outfit their core teams with intermediate armor kits, the combat power of these teams would rise to a whole new level. There was no question that it was a worthwhile investment. All the guilds that had received news regarding the intermediate mana armor kits immediately hurried over to the candlelight trading firm. Moreover, these guilds were incredibly ambitious, each and every one of them asking to buy 100 or more kits without hesitation. "What did you say? Why aren't you selling it to me?" a guild representative shouted angrily. "Have a good look. I don't lack the money to pay for them." "Sir, my apologies, but since the supply for the intermediate mana armor kits is too limited, we are only selling it in limited quantities. Ordinary players are allowed to buy at most one kit each time. As you are representing a guild, you will only be allowed to buy a maximum of 9 kits. If you are from one of the guilds partnered with the candlelight trading firm, you will be allowed to purchase up to 21 kits at a single time." The beautiful NPC saleswoman smiled faintly, paying no heed to the actions of the angry player before her. "Damn. Give me 9 for now, then." The guild representative was helpless about the situation as the guild he belonged to was not a partner of the candlelight trading firm. He had no choice but to buy 9 kits for now and have the guild send more members to make additional purchases. Only, they would have to waste a lot of time using this method. There were just too many players coming to buy the kits, and even lining up was extremely troublesome and time-consuming. Although the candlelight trading firm had only set up shops in a few cities, when players and guilds of other cities heard of the news regarding the intermediate mana armor kits, they had promptly made their way over to cities that housed the candlelight trading firm. Among them, the number of players running over to White River City was the highest. The candlelight trading firms based in White River City had the largest allocation of intermediate mana armor kits. That number was practically the total of all of the branch shops. Hence, many players from the various major cities and guild representatives all came over to White River City. Moreover, this allocation was something Shifeng had deliberately instructed Melancholic Smile to do. He had done so with the intention of increasing White River City's population. Once everyone realized the uniqueness of White River City, some players would surely consider developing themselves here instead, out of convenience. Meanwhile, this would indirectly increase Zero Wing's strength. At this moment, the guilds that had previously chosen to partner themselves with the candlelight trading firm were celebrating in joy. Previously, most, if not all, of them felt that they had taken a huge loss by partnering with Candlelight. Now, however, they had become the envy of all the other guilds. Being able to purchase 21 kits at a single time had saved them plenty of trouble. Right now, the intermediate mana armor kits were priceless. Currently, people were offering to buy the kits for 8 gold coins, and this price was still rising. Even so, nobody was willing to sell their kits. Moreover, under the oversight of the system, independent players could purchase only one intermediate mana armor kit. Nobody wished to waste this precious opportunity, so they would not readily sell the kits they had obtained. Just as many guilds were fighting to purchase the intermediate mana armor kits, silence filled Overwhelming Smile's guild residence in White River City. Inside the guild residence's meeting room, several veins were bulging on Feng Xuanyang's forehead. He was very nearly at the point of erupting. Boom! 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 Feng Xuanyang violently slammed his fists down on the wooden table, and after a few consecutive blows, even the wooden table shattered. Young Master Feng, you must calm down. Calm down? How do you want me to calm down? Feng Xuanyang's eyes had already turned blood red by now. If possible, he wished he could devour the candlelight trading firm whole, right this instant. In order to purchase the light stones in large quantities, he had invested another 100 million of his own money. Meanwhile, he had done so with the intention of earning back the 50 million he had previously lost. He had even thrown in all the earnings of the overwhelming trading firm into the mix. But all he had accomplished was purchasing a bunch of goods that had a seemingly endless supply. The most infuriating part was that, upon receiving news regarding the candlelight trading firm, his superiors had immediately ordered him to buy 300 intermediate mana armor kits. However, where was he supposed to get so many coins? 300 kits would cost 1,500 gold. Previously, he had indeed possessed this amount of money. Now, however, it was already gone. Chapter 539, Dominant Force. Young Master Feng, if there really is no other way, then let's sell the light stones we bought cheaply. This way, we can get back most of the money we lost. Sell them cheaply? Feng Xianyang pondered. He had indeed thought about this method before. However, who would want to buy them? Currently, everyone had their eyes on the intermediate mana armor kits, throwing everything they had into accumulating money. Since the appearance of the intermediate mana armor kits, even the exchange rate for coins had risen significantly. How could anyone possibly bother to buy light stones? Even if someone were to buy his light stones, just how many could he possibly sell? He had a full 10,000 stacks piled up in his hands right now. Forget it. If I have to make a loss, so be it. I have to complete the task the higher-ups gave me. Sell the light stones at a 20% discount, then. Sell as many as you can. Even if we can't sell them all, we can at least make some trouble for the candlelight trading firm, Feng Xianyang sighed. The management of Underworld was extremely strict. If he did not complete his assignment, the consequences would be very severe. He had only managed to reach this position in the organization after many difficulties. Naturally, he could not fall short after coming this far. These 10,000 stacks of light stones had cost him 1,900 gold, more than half of which came from Underworld and the overwhelming trading firm. Although he would lose a significant sum of money by selling the light stones at a 20% discount, at least he could earn back Underworld's and Overwhelming Smile's shares of the money. He would also have the 1,500 gold required to purchase the 300 intermediate mana armor kits. Sometime later, the overwhelming trading firm also began selling light stones. Moreover, due to Underworld's connections, Feng Xianyang managed to quickly get in touch with the various guilds around Star Moon Kingdom. Light stones were still not available in many cities around the kingdom, which left the demands of many players unsated. So, selling the light stones at a 20% discount prompted many players to fight to purchase them. Only, for every stack of light stones sold, Feng Xianyang would feel a painful sting in his heart. Just as the intermediate mana armor kits were selling hotly in White River City, Star Moon City had also gone into a frenzy. Currently, upper managers of the various large guilds based in the capital stood in front of the counter inside the candlelight trading firm, their eyes bloodshot. I am the vice leader of the Wind God Guild. Call out your boss for me. I have a big business proposal that I wish to discuss with him. I am an elder of the Rainbow Guild. Why aren't you calling your upper management to come to greet me yet? Various guilds in Star Moon City were thinking of ways to contact the upper management of the candlelight trading firm. Unfortunately, no matter what words they used, the NPCs hired by the candlelight trading firm completely ignored them, leaving them restless. Initially, the various large guilds in Star Moon City were only somewhat surprised when the candlelight trading firm had set up a shop in the city. They never expected that someone could actually afford to buy a plot of land in the golden area of the city and even set up a shop there. Now, however, they could not help but wish they could purchase the entire candlelight trading firm. Using credits, of course. If they had to buy using coins, even if they added up the funds of every guild in the city, they would not be able to afford to buy the trading firm. Guild leader, I've received information stating that the candlelight trading firm's main branch is in White River City. Although the firm has set up a shop in the capital, its management seems to be based at White River City, a graceful and elegant female elementalist reported to the strong and dignified-looking man beside her. Meanwhile, inside a coffee shop a short distance away from the candlelight trading firm, many male players had promptly shifted their gaze to this tall beauty upon noticing her. In this day and age, with the popularity of nutrition and fitness, one could easily find handsome men and beautiful women. However, it was still extremely difficult if one wished to have a top-tier beauty accompany them inside the game. Not to mention, that beauty appeared to be that man's young secretary. "Bro, when do you think we can live like that guy?" a level 24 Guardian Knight muttered enviously. "What nonsense are you spouting?" the level 25 Ranger beside the Guardian Knight scoffed. "Do you know who that man is? Isn't he just a little rich? What's there to be proud of? If I had that kind of money, beauties would surely throw themselves at me. I could also look for a group of little secretaries to play God's domain with me," the Guardian Knight replied with disdain. "Look at yourself. It's no wonder you've been in this pitiful state all your life." The level 25 Ranger slowly explained, "Let me tell you, that man is not just some useless Prince Charming. He is someone who has achieved success due to his own efforts. Moreover, he's only 34 years old. I am also certain that you have heard of his name before." "What's he called?" the Guardian Knight asked curiously. "He's the Star Alliance's guild leader, Galaxy Past," the Ranger laughed. He then looked towards the woman standing beside Galaxy Past, adding, "That beauty is also no ordinary person. She is Purple Eye. She was ranked 931st in the latest God's Domain ranking list. Although her rank is lower than Red Feather's, her strength is even superior to his. Do you think you can hire such a beautiful expert as your secretary just because you have money?" The Guardian Knight fell silent, no longer daring to speak another word. Star Alliance was currently one of the two top guilds in Starmoon City. However, as Ouroboros recently had a change in leadership and was facing problems with internal strife, Star Alliance had more or less become Starmoon City's #1 guild. He would simply be seeking his own death if he dared to fool around with Galaxy Past's little secretary inside Starmoon City. He might even end up returning to level 0 in the very next day. "Guild leader, do you think they are talking about you?" Purple Eye laughed. "How could it possibly be me? They are clearly talking about the great beauty at my side," Galaxy Past laughed. "Alright, ignore them. We have more important matters to address. Now that the intermediate mana armor kit has appeared, nobody in Starmoon Kingdom can afford to sit still and do nothing. It seems that we'll have to make a trip to White River City. Starmoon Kingdom's eastern region has always been secretly controlled by that mysterious organization named Underworld. We have always minded our own business. If we head over to their territory right now, I'm afraid that it would bring about negative effects," Purple Eye warned. "I don't care. If we let Underworld monopolize the intermediate mana armor kits, what will we do about our development, then?" A cold glint flashed across Galaxy Past's eyes as he said, "In reality, Underworld has long since been an eyesore. Unfortunately, the organization's strength is altogether too massive and extensive. It has spread its influence across multiple kingdoms, and even into the Black Dragon Empire. So, before this, would only avoid looking for trouble with Underworld if possible. However, if Underworld thinks it can monopolize the intermediate mana armor kits, they can think again. The impact of the intermediate mana armor kits was too massive. Just being able to have every member of their core team receive the attributes of an extra piece of level 25 dark gold equipment was already very frightening. Moreover, these kits would not drop upon death. If they could equip even their guild's elite members with these kits, their guild would practically be invincible. Meanwhile, inside Ouroboros' guild residence. "Snow, are you really going to go?" Zhao Yueru asked, her brows knitted together. "We've just managed to stabilize the situation over here recently. If you head over to White River City, it would be troublesome if someone tries something in Starmoon City while you are away. Yueru, you should know that I don't wish to leave at such a time either. However, I must make a trip there personally for this matter. Gentle Snow shook her head. I'll leave this place to you for now. I'll try to return as quickly as possible. At the same time, the upper managers of the various large guilds in Star Moon City had also begun bringing along their men to White River City. Chapter 540, Grand Gathering. While Shifeng hunted and harvested members of Overwhelming Smile, White River City had become the focal point of Star Moon Kingdom. Many upper managers from first-rate and second-rate guilds had arrived in White River City. What's going on? Why are so many guilds in White River City? I've never seen many of them before. I heard that they've come to partner with the Candlelight trading firm. There are even guilds from the surrounding kingdoms, including the Black Dragon Empire, who have shown up, let alone Star Moon Kingdom's guilds. Weren't others saying how Empire players were much stronger than Kingdom players? That doesn't seem to be the case to me. In the end, haven't they still come over to our White River City for some advantage? They've only come here because of the Candlelight trading firm. Look at the other kingdoms. Which one of them possesses a shop that sells intermediate mana armor kits? Right now, nobody has any level 25 dark gold equipment for sale at all. Meanwhile, the intermediate mana armor kits are even more powerful than level 25 dark gold equipment, and the Candlelight trading firm can produce it in large quantities. Having it and not can make a huge difference to dungeon raiding progress and PvP fights. Naturally, these guilds realize how important such an item is. The players filling White River City streets and alleyways discussed the large number of guilds gathering in White River City, and a sense of pride bloomed in their hearts. No one would have thought that a lifestyle guild could possess so much influence. Damn! Why have so many people come here? At this moment, Feng Xianyang watched the growing number of guild representatives enter the Candlelight trading firm, wrathful flames burning in his eyes. To collect the required 1,500 gold, he had gone through a lot of trouble to sell the light stones. He also had to add in a large sum of his own credits. Meanwhile, it was obvious that the reason many guilds had come here today was none other than to purchase the intermediate mana armor kits. The Candlelight trading firm did not offer a large supply of intermediate mana armor kits. It had been a huge challenge for him to buy 300 kits for himself. Now that more competitors had appeared, his chances of fulfilling that quota had shrunk further. Among the guilds that had arrived, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion from the Black Dragon Empire was the most powerful. It was the first-rate guild that was the closest to becoming a super guild. Unfortunately, the pavilion was younger than those true super guilds, having been established later. Otherwise, it would have joined the super guild's ranks by now. Meanwhile, the force and financial prowess backing the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was no less than that of an organization like Underworld. Currently, the pavilion was the Black Dragon Empire's #1 guild. Other first-rate guilds stood no chance against it. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had sent one of its 2 pavilion masters, the Dragon Pavilion Master, as its representative. In the guild, the Dragon Pavilion Master's status was only below that of the Great Pavilion Master. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's management style was different from other guilds. Normally, a guild's management personnel consisted of the guild leader, vice leaders, elders, and so on. On the other hand, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion could be split into 2 pavilions, the Dragon Pavilion and the Phoenix Pavilion. Each pavilion was the equivalent of a single guild, and both pavilions developed themselves independent of each other. Meanwhile, a pavilion master governed each pavilion. One could say that the pavilion masters were the equivalents of the guild leader of a guild. Moreover, the influence each pavilion wielded equaled that of a top-tier first-rate guild. With both pavilions merged, one could just imagine how powerful the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was. The Great Pavilion Master managed the coordination between the 2 pavilions. This Great Pavilion Master was extremely mysterious and secretive. Even until now, there had yet to be anyone who knew the Great Pavilion Master's identity. However, the fact that this person was capable of managing 2 first-rate guilds at the same time showed how capable they were. Young Master Feng, we should be celebrating, the slightly chubby man beside Feng Xianyang said, smiling. Celebratory alcohol, what are you trying to say? Feng Xianyang frowned, saying, with so many competitors here right now, how will I possibly be able to buy 300 intermediate mana armor kits? Young Master Feng, hasn't our initial goal been to defeat the Candlelight trading firm and establish our own trade empire in White River City? Celebratory alcohol slowly explained, if only little fish and shrimp visit the firm, it would indeed be a good thing for the Candlelight trading firm. However, those who have arrived are all tigers and leopards. This is not good news for the trading firm. Think about it, the people that have shown up are either here to purchase the Candlelight trading firm or seek a partnership. However, who doesn't want to monopolize the intermediate mana armor kits for themselves? It is especially true for the people from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. In order to become a true super guild, the pavilion has ignored all costs and recruited a large number of experts. They even managed to recruit 5 of last year's top 10 newcomers to the virtual gaming world, not to mention experts who have already been famous for many years. Currently, the intermediate mana armor kit is the perfect item for the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion to advance itself. Naturally, the guild will not let go of this chance to obtain the kit for itself. The other guilds should feel the same. However, young Master Feng, you have personally seen the personality of the Candlelight trading firm's manager. Even Miss Yulan was helpless against her. One can just imagine what kind of response these newly arrived guilds will receive. At that time, things will definitely end on a sour note, and the Candlelight trading firm will make enemies of the various guilds. At that time, not only will we have the opportunity to complete the task given by the higher-ups, but we can also take the opportunity to deal with the Candlelight trading firm. When celebratory alcohol finished speaking, realization dawned upon Feng Xianyang. You're right. We'll have a good show to watch this time. Feng Xianyang began laughing madly. On the surface, although this seemed like a grand gathering, in reality, it was a festival of murder. If the Candlelight trading firm offended the guilds that had arrived, these guilds would hold nothing back to suppress the Candlelight trading firm. If Underworld added fuel to the fire, who would dare to supply the Candlelight trading firm? Who would dare sell their materials to the Candlelight trading firm? Any guild or workshop that did would lose any hope of succeeding in God's domain. Even if the Candlelight trading firm were only a lifestyle guild and could not be dealt with like a combat guild, it could not survive without materials, forging designs, recipes, and other such items. Sooner or later, the items that were highly sought after now would become obsolete. At that time, the Candlelight trading firm would be finished. Big Sis melancholic. There are so many guilds in the first floor's hall today that I nearly lost count. There are over 100 guilds who registered to meet with us to discuss business. Among them, there are over a dozen first-rate guilds. It also seems that they have come with bad intentions. What should we do? One of Melancholic Smile's female assistants asked nervously. No ordinary player would ever have dreamed such a scene. Star Moon Kingdom only had several first-rate guilds. Now, not only had every one of these first-rate guilds arrived, but there were even first-rate and second-rate guilds from other kingdoms and empires as well. I understand. Have the NPCs welcome them for now. I'll try to think of a solution in the meantime. Melancholic Smile also struggled with the situation. She had never expected that the intermediate mana armor kits would have such a huge influence. They had attracted a pack of hungry wolves and beasts to their doorstep. If she had known something like this would happen, she never would have suggested that Feng sell the intermediate mana armor kits. Even if they wanted to sell them, they should have only done so after the Candlelight trading firm had secured its position in Star Moon Kingdom. Now, however, they were surrounded by enemies on all sides. Although Melancholic Smile really wished to solve this problem by herself, she could not come up with any ideas. This situation was different than the previous one she had handled with the guilds. If she approached this forcefully, she would offend the major powers of several kingdoms and an empire. To put it simply, she would be seeking her own death. Helpless, Melancholic Smile had no choice but to contact Feng. She was truly out of options, and she could only hope that Feng had something up his sleeve. Chapter 541, Terrifying Great Demon King. The Barren Ridge was a wasteland located in the Maple City region. The land was parched and cracked, not even a blade of grass could grow here. Yellow sand choked the wind as it was lifted into the air all year long. Yet, at this moment, many players could be seen grinding and leveling in this desolate area. The Barren Ridge was a level 25 to level 32 leveling map. Although it was a wasteland, various kinds of stone beasts lived there. Stone beasts were elemental creatures made of excellent stone materials. There was a 20% chance to obtain advanced stones when killing these monsters, and they even had a small chance of dropping rare ores. Nowadays, the forging industry was very popular, and many lifestyle players who disliked combat would learn forging. Hence, all sorts of forging materials were in high demand right now. Even if the Barren Ridge did not contain treasure chests or advanced quests, many players still preferred to grind for stones and ores here while leveling up. The various large guilds had monopolized the high resource maps surrounding every city, leaving no room or access to ordinary players. If an ordinary player were discovered trespassing into a guild-run zone, the guild members would either chase them away or kill them on the spot. Knowing this, ordinary players naturally avoided these high-resource maps. Instead, they could only explore ordinary maps such as the Barren Ridge. However, after Shifeng's last visit to the Dragon Ridge, Overwhelming Smiles members avoided the zone at all costs. Instead, they had come to the Barren Ridge to grind and level up. This resulted in ordinary players flooding the Dragon Ridge, and Maple City's ordinary players came to admire the name Black Flame. One man was capable of forcing an entire guild to concede. Black Flame's strength was inconceivable. Laughing Heaven, Overwhelming Smiles guild leader, wanted nothing more than to hack Shifeng into thousands of tiny pieces. Unfortunately, even Laughing Heaven's hands were tied. Based on Warwolf's report, Shifeng's base attributes were simply too high. He was far beyond experts like them. If they wanted a fighting chance against him, they needed to upgrade their equipment and base attributes first. Before that happened, however, they could only try their best to keep hidden. Of course, there were other methods they could use, such as hunting Shifeng in large teams. However, a team of several hundred players would not be enough. A single large-scale destruction spell would be more than enough to annihilate most of the team. At the very least, they needed to mobilize armies of over 1,000 players. Unfortunately, Shifeng's whereabouts were unknown. It was practically impossible to trap him with thousands of players. So, they had no choice but to endure until they possessed a strategic-level expert capable of rivaling Black Flame. Damn, just how long do we have to grind here? A level 24 summoner from Overwhelming Smile grumbled. Since when have Overwhelming Smile members ever suffered such a loss before? We are actually forced to this godforsaken place. Isn't he just one expert? I don't believe that we can't take him out if several hundred of us gang up on him. Shoo! Be quiet. What if your big mouth really summons that person? The level 25 elementalist serving as the team's leader warned the summoner softly, frowning as he carefully observed his surroundings. You were lucky that you weren't out that night. If you experienced that volcanic power, you would know that even a team of hundreds of players would be no different than ants. Moreover, not even the shield warriors and guardian knights with high HP and defense survived a single hit from that expert. Many among the team nodded their agreement to the elementalist's words. Although it was currently daytime, they could still recall the madness of that night as if it had happened yesterday. Team leader, aren't you over-exaggerating? Although our current equipment isn't top tier, even someone fully geared with level 25 dark gold equipment should not be able to kill our team's guardian knights and shield warriors in one hit, right? The summoner replied, refusing to believe his team leader's claim. Moments after this summoner finished speaking, a black figure suddenly descended from the sky. Don't believe it? Why don't you experience it yourself, then? The person who had flown down from the sky was none other than Shifeng himself. The Barren Ridge was ridiculously large, and Overwhelming Smiles members had scattered across the map. For efficiency's sake, Shifeng had no choice but to activate Wind Rider to hunt these people. When Shifeng noticed this 100-man team from Overwhelming Smile, he had immediately flown towards them. The instant Shifeng descended, he switched the aura of wind to the aura of fire and launched a firestorm from above, covering a radius of 30 yards. Flames filled the sky, burning everything in its vicinity to ash and dust. Even the level 27 stone beasts, which possessed high magic resistance and 5,000 HP, died with the first wave of damage, not to mention players whose HPs were below 5,000 and had zero magic resistance. In the blink of an eye, less than 30 players remained of Overwhelming Smile's 100-man team. Their two spread out. After landing, Shifeng frowned slightly when he noticed that many had escaped his firestorm. However, the massive AoE had dumbfounded Overwhelming Smile's members. Crap. It's the Great Demon King. Split up and run. Contact the guild leader and notify everyone else immediately. The Elementalist team leader responded quickly as he shouted in the team chat. Team leader, what should we be afraid of? He's just one person. Watch me take care of him. Although the summoner was also stunned by Shifeng's firestorm, he quickly began chanting an incantation and summoned a flame beast, ordering it to attack the newcomer. The flame beast was a fire-type elemental creature possessing extremely high flame damage. Moreover, it also had a very powerful skill. Self-detonate. When activated, the flame beast would self-destruct and cause 300% damage to all enemies within a radius of 10 yards. It was a considerably powerful AoE skill. However, upon activating self-detonate, the flame beast could not be summoned again for another 4 hours. So, self-detonate was not a skill that could be used to grind monsters. Die. The summoner controlled the flame beast to dash towards Shifeng. However, when the flame beast was only 10 yards away from Shifeng, a streak of black light penetrated the elemental's body. The flame beast began to dissipate instantly. Impossible. Terror gripped the summon upon losing control over his flame beast. The flame beast was the strongest summoned creature he could currently call forth, and it had an HP of 10,000. Yet, before it could even get close to Shifeng, it was already killed. Even the summoner had not seen how his flame beast had died. To end the battle quickly, Shifeng activated Defensive Blade and Purgatory's power, increasing his attack range and damage. To Shifeng, the flame beast's 10,000 HP and attack range of 10 yards was nothing. By the time the summoner had reacted, he had discovered that he could not move his body. Someone stood right in front of him, and although this person hid his appearance behind a black cloak, his imposing aura and horrifically cold killing intent shattered any thoughts of resistance the summoner had. The summoner was truly and thoroughly terrified. Is this even a human? He finally understood why his team leader had sounded so unsettled. Just mentioning the name, Black Flame, was a huge taboo. In the blink of an eye, Shifeng's figure disappeared. Am I hallucinating? Before the summoner could say anything, his vision began to gray. Suddenly, his body fell to the ground. When did he even attack me? In a short moment, Overwhelming Smile's 100-man team had been annihilated. I've wasted too much time. They should have already contacted their guildmates by now. It will probably be more difficult to find other members now. Shifeng sighed as he looked at the loot scattered across the ground. He still had a long way to go to collect 5,000 life force points. Just as Shifeng finished gathering the drops and was about to search for the next batch of life force points, he received a call from Melancholic Smile. Chapter 542, Manager. White River City, inside the Candlelight Trading Firm's first-floor reception hall. Currently, the upper managers from various guilds occupied the large reception hall. Among the guilds present, the weakest were second-rate guilds, while the strongest guild was close to becoming a super guild. Some of these guilds were allies, while others were enemies. Hence, the reception hall's atmosphere was extraordinarily intense. Even the NPC beauty receiving these people felt uncomfortable. I didn't think guild leader Snow would show up as well. It is indeed a rare sight, Galaxy Past said, laughing as he glanced at Gentle Snow sitting a short distance away. I heard that you have a mountain of work to do back at Ouroboros and that Chao Qinghua is trying to split up the guild. Chao Qinghua has many of his supporters stationed in Starmoon City. Guild leader Snow, is it really a good idea for you to be here right now? There is no reason for guild leader Galaxy to worry. Ouroboros is getting by quite well right now. Otherwise, why would I come here? Gentle Snow did not reveal a trace of weakness as she replied. On the contrary, aren't you, guild leader Galaxy, having a bad time right now? I've heard that Star Alliance's branch in the Lion Kingdom has suffered a major loss, losing over 10,000 people in a single guild war. In the end, you even allowed others to profit. First-rate guilds would usually develop themselves in several major regions. Naturally, the Star Alliance was no exception. The Lion Kingdom was west of the Starmoon Kingdom. Though the kingdom only occupied half as much area as the Starmoon Kingdom, the kingdom's player population was still significant. 2 first-rate guilds and multiple second-rate guilds constantly fought over the Lion Kingdom. The Star Alliance was one of the 2 first-rate guilds. However, in order to fight over a treasure, many of the guilds in the Lion Kingdom had gone all out. In the end, the Star Alliance had suffered heavy losses. To make matters worse, the other first-rate guild had snatched the treasure. Despite Gentle Snow striking a sore spot, Galaxy Past did not grow angry. Instead, he laughed and said, as expected of guild leader Snow, you really are well informed. You truly do possess some of your brother's aura from when he controlled Ouroboros. Unfortunately, the Ouroboros of today is not the Ouroboros of the past. Purple Eye, the beautiful female elementalist sitting beside Galaxy Past, on the other hand, radiated an intense killing intent as she glared at Gentle Snow. You want to make a move? Gentle Snow laughed. Suddenly, a frightening aura surged forth. Smiling at Purple Eye, she said, I heard that the Star Alliance possesses 5 great experts, and they are Galaxy Past, Red Feather, Flourishing Willow, Flying Jade, and Purple Eye. Among them, Flying Jade is the most mysterious, and Purple Eye is the strongest. I really want to know if this rumor is true. Let's put it to the test, then. Purple Eye provoked, showing no intention of backing off. For a time, it felt as if the temperature in the reception hall had fallen by a few degrees. Ouroboros and the Star Alliance were known enemies. Both guilds had competed against each other for over a dozen years, and at this point, their rivalry would not stop until one of them was wiped out of existence. Hence, the standoff between the 2 guilds did not seem out of place to anyone watching. The many guild representatives promptly moved to the side, hoping to watch the fight between the 2 beauties. Meanwhile, sitting at the forefront of the reception hall, a robust man resembling Zhang Fei suddenly turned to the handsome and dashing youth seated beside him, respectfully saying, Pavilion Master, this subordinate will go and remind them of where they are lest they ruin Pavilion Master's good mood. Saying so, this robust man strode towards Gentle Snow and Purple Eye. Suddenly, however, a single hand halted his advance. Forget it. Doing nothing but waiting here is quite boring. Watching them fight will be a nice change of pace, the dashing youth said, smiling faintly. Understood. The robust man returned to his seat. Everyone present had seen the handsome youth's actions. And though that high and mighty attitude of his displeased the other guild representatives, nobody felt that the youth's attitude was inappropriate. This handsome youth was one of the 2 pavilion masters of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. The pavilion had possessed the strength of a super guild for a long time now. It lacked a stage to display its might. Meanwhile, in the eyes of super guilds, first-rate guilds were nothing but children. It was only natural that the handsome youth thought little of the others. Just as Gentle Snow and Purple Eye were about to face off, a loud shout suddenly echoed through the hall. Everyone, stay your hands. A clear, crisp voice swept through the crowd. When everyone turned to look at the owner of this voice, they discovered another great beauty. Unlike Gentle Snow and Purple Eye, this beauty did not possess a frightening aura. However, although she seemed somewhat ordinary, every guild representative took her seriously. This beauty was the candlelight trading firm's manager, Melancholic Smile. This is the candlelight trading firm, not the arena. All forms of fighting are prohibited here. If someone wishes to challenge the rules of the candlelight trading firm, then I will have no choice but to send you on your way. Melancholic Smile scolded. Nobody doubted Melancholic Smile's power. Inside a private shop, the manager was invincible. The manager of the shop could teleport someone out with a single thought and bar that person from entering the building ever again. Sure enough, she is indeed formidable. It is no wonder why she can ignore even Underworld. Galaxy Past could not help but focus on Melancholic Smile. The upper managers of the other guilds were similarly surprised. They had not expected Melancholic Smile to be so fearless. Every player here was an overlord in their own right, their status and identities were extraordinary. It was especially true for the first-rate guilds present. Yet, Melancholic Smile had not left any room for argument. Her mighty attitude was exactly as the information they received stated, so much so that she appeared even more overwhelming than before. At Melancholic Smile's appearance, Gentle Snow and Purple Eye glanced at each other before turning away. Everyone had come here today to do business. Nothing good would come from provoking the candlelight trading firm. Peace returned to the reception hall, and everyone began to observe Melancholic Smile. Although she did not emit any sort of aura, there were not many people who had the courage to reproach two first-rate guilds. After all, the candlelight trading firm was but a single lifestyle guild. Without any combat power of its own, it would have no choice but to purchase its materials from combat guilds. One could say that the trading firm's survival relied on combat guilds. Moreover, as the game progressed, the trading firm would require more precious materials. At that time, the firm's reliance on combat guilds would grow stronger. Hence, it was not a good idea for the firm to offend powerful combat guilds. At this moment, the Dragon Pavilion Master seated at the forefront of the hall opened his mouth and said, "Miss Melancholic, since you have arrived, shouldn't it be about time to begin our discussion?" Everyone nodded their agreement to the Dragon Pavilion Master's words. They had waited for quite some time now, and they had only waited for so long out of respect for the candlelight trading firm's prestige. Now that its manager had arrived, it was only natural that they began discussing business. Certainly. However, a manager like myself does not have the power to make the decisions you are all looking for. Melancholic Smile shook her head. What are you trying to say? Various representatives asked, curious. Are you saying that you're not going to do business with us? What a joke. They had come from so far and had spent a significant sum on teleportation fees. Now that they were told that there was nothing to discuss. Was the candlelight trading firm just toying with them? Suddenly, the temperature in the reception hall dropped sharply. Not a single person present was someone that should be easily offended. Not only were they powerful experts, but the influence they commanded was also frightening. Standing by the side, Melancholic Smile's assistant felt her legs grow weak, her complexion paling. To an ordinary player like herself, this pressure was immense. Fortunately for the female assistant, everyone focused not on her, but on Melancholic Smile instead. However, even Melancholic Smile did not feel too well right now. This was her first time experiencing such an immense pressure, so much so that even her hand trembled slightly. She found it astonishing. This was merely a virtual reality game, yet, she could still feel such intensity. She nearly lost her breath. I am only the manager of the candlelight trading firm. Only my boss can make decisions regarding the business you wish to discuss. If you are really interested in working with us, then you'll be able to meet my boss if you wait for a little while longer. After Melancholic Smile finished speaking, she turned and left the reception hall. For a time, silence overtook the reception hall. Although they had long since guessed that Melancholic Smile was not the candlelight trading firm's proprietor, hearing her statement had surprised them. Since Melancholic Smile had been able to establish such a powerful trading firm, the force backing her would naturally be extraordinary. Moreover, nobody present had yet to uncover the tiniest bit of information about this hidden backer. One could just imagine this mysterious backer's power. Chapter 543, The Boss Behind the Scenes. Just as everyone inside the reception hall pondered the identity of the candlelight trading firm's true boss, Shifeng finally arrived in White River City. Overwhelming Smile's reaction this time was really fast. I just ambushed one group, and it immediately became difficult to find any players. Shifeng had originally intended to collect more life force points after Melancholic Smile had contacted him. However, he never expected Overwhelming Smile to have such decisive precautions. In the end, he had to give up on his endeavor. It was indeed possible for a single top-tier expert to delay the development of an entire guild. However, it was not possible for a person to single-handedly annihilate a large guild, particularly a cautious guild. Otherwise, many guilds would have long since fallen into ruin. After returning to White River City, Shifeng noticed that both the number and quality of players had increased significantly. I wonder what has happened to Zero Wing's recruitment. Shifeng then called up the guild system. Shifeng had busied himself with the candlelight trading firm. He had paid no attention to Zero Wing. He had left the guild's management to Aqua Rose and Blackie. If the two of them had not encountered any major issues, they normally would not contact him. So, Shifeng was not all that worried that anything had happened to the guild while he had been away. Currently, Zero Wing was White River City's publicly acknowledged #1 guild. It stood at the very forefront in every aspect. Although Zero Wing continued to wage war on Overwhelming Smile, and plenty of battles still occurred between both guilds every day, with the candlelight trading firm's financial support, this kind of expenditure was practically negligible. On the contrary, the ongoing war had stimulated guild members' motivation, allowing them to improve their combat techniques continuously. They had even made a huge profit through killing their enemies, killing two birds with one stone. Upon opening the guild system panel, Shifeng suddenly noticed that the guild's population had greatly increased. Previously, the member count had balanced around 40,000. Now, however, there were already more than 50,000 players in Zero Wing. Moreover, this number continued to rise. Throughout this time, Zero Wing had never changed its recruitment standards. On the contrary, the minimum requirements had been raised further in order to increase the quality of the new players. However, instead of seeing a decline in the number of players joining the guild, the opposite had happened. 50,000 people? Shifeng pondered the situation. During the initial stages of God's domain, a guild with 50,000 members could definitely be considered a large guild. Normally, such guilds would split its members and develop themselves in multiple cities. Even for a major city like White River City, having 50,000 members at a time was about the limit. As for why there was a limit? It was because there was a limit to the number of high-resource areas available. Once the player population reached a certain level, the high-resource areas would reach full capacity. Any increase in the player population would result in the decrease in their development speed. Hence, large guilds would usually assign their members to various cities, allowing their members to develop quickly. Zero Wing already had 50,000 members. Moreover, the players Zero Wing recruited all had strong techniques. Even if they had not reached the standards of an elite player, they were not too far. Overall, Zero Wing was stronger than second-rate guilds and only slightly inferior to first-rate guilds. Not even first-rate guilds could match Zero Wing's top combatants. Naturally, Zero Wing required more resources to strengthen itself. It seems that I have to begin development in other cities earlier than expected. Shifeng had never expected for Zero Wing to develop so quickly. His initial plan to expand Zero Wing to other cities would not have begun for another month. He had also expected for Zero Wing's member count to reach 50,000 only 2 or 3 weeks after that. Now, however, he had to initiate his plan ahead of time. For now, however, I need to deal with the candlelight trading firm's problem. Shifeng then contacted Aqua Rose. Guild leader, do you need something? I'm quite busy at the moment, Aqua Rose asked pleasantly, smiling. She had been extremely busy while Shifeng had been away. Fire Dance and the others had focused on their special training, so all important matters regarding the guild had been left to her to handle. However, thanks to Shifeng's massive daily shipments of top-tier equipment, particularly level 30 fine gold and dark gold equipment, and the flood of enthusiastic players who wanted to join Zero Wing, she was quite happy with her work. Currently, Aqua Rose dared to pat her chest and guarantee that no elite members of other guilds in Star Moon Kingdom were better equipped than Zero Wing's members. As for Zero Wing's core members, the equipment they wore consisted of a mix of level 25 fine gold and dark gold equipment, with dark gold equipment being the majority. If other guilds discovered this, their eyes would pop out of their sockets. Someone's here to make trouble. What do you think we should do? Shifeng laughed. Who's the blind fool? They actually dare to cause trouble in White River City? Aqua Rose was initially surprised. However, very quickly, she laughed and said, "Where are they? This lady will annihilate them this instant." Although Aqua Rose was very busy, her level had not lagged behind the other core members whatsoever. It was the same for her equipment. Currently, she was level 27 and fully equipped with dark gold equipment. The staff she wielded was also a staff exclusive to elementalists that Shifeng had obtained from the Twilight treasure chests. Although the staff's attributes were inferior to Blackie's epic ranked staff, her weapons attributes were very well suited for elementalists. In PvP battles, it was in no way inferior to an epic ranked staff. The Candlelight Trading Firm. When Shifeng uttered those 4 words, a realization instantly struck Aqua Rose. Guild leader, are we really going to do this? Aqua Rose could not help but ask. Currently, all players in White River City knew of the gathering of the many upper managers of first-rate and second-rate guilds at the Candlelight Trading Firm. Presently, however, no one had discovered just who stood behind the Candlelight Trading Firm. Only a few core members of Zero Wing knew. After all, it wasn't just guilds that were capable of setting up a shop, individuals could do so as well. Many of the shops set up in minor cities were mostly set up by workshops that focused on lifestyle classes. Not to mention, Shifeng had also set up the Candlelight Trading Firm under the name of the Horizon Alliance, making it nearly impossible to trace back to Zero Wing. Everybody will learn the truth sooner or later. This is just a little sooner than we had planned. Shifeng had never bothered hiding the fact that he had established the Horizon Alliance. It was far more convenient to manage a shop through a lifestyle guild. After all, combat guilds and lifestyle guilds had completely different specializations, and the specialization of lifestyle guilds made them more suitable to develop shops. In the past, after discovering this matter, many large guilds had promptly established a lifestyle guild to manage their shops. Shifeng had only established a lifestyle guild ahead of time. Guild leader, leave it to me. Aqua Rose also grew excited. Inside the Candlelight Trading Firm's reception hall. Due to Melancholic Smile's statement, everyone inside the hall had begun to make their guesses of who might be the Candlelight Trading Firm's owner. However, even if the boss behind the scenes was impressive, what could he possibly do against so many large guilds? As everyone occupied themselves with their discussions, time slowly ticked by. This Candlelight Trading Firm sure knows how to treat its guests. They've already made us wait for such a long time. Do they really think we are easily bullied? A representative of a second-rate guild complained. Everyone was greatly displeased with the situation. Who were they? They were the overlords of God's domain. Moreover, they had brought both money and sincerity with them. Yet, the Candlelight Trading Firm actually dared make emperors like them wait so long. Whoever was behind the firm must truly be tired of living. Meanwhile, seated in a corner of the hall, Feng Xianyang watched the souring situation with a smile. The Candlelight Trading Firm might have been able to get away with angering the various small guilds of White River City, but if it angered all of these large guilds, who would dare supply the firm? Without materials, the Candlelight Trading Firm would not produce a single product. However, Feng Xianyang's smile had not lasted long as the doors to the reception hall suddenly slammed open. In the next moment, a large group of players, roughly 100, marched into the hall. These players all radiated imposing auras. Not a single one looked ordinary, and they were all level 26 or above. Judging from the dazzling glow effect on their equipment, the most inferior equipment they had was fine gold ranked, with the majority of their equipment consisting of dark gold rank. On their chests, every player wore a 6-winged silver emblem. This was none other than Zero Wings Guild emblem. Sorry I made you all wait for me. Shifeng suddenly crossed the reception hall's threshold, smiling. Sweeping a glance over everyone present, he laughed and said, I'm the owner of the candlelight trading firm, Black Flame. Chapter 544, Devour Everything. Zero Wing's arrival had silenced the reception hall. At this moment, practically every guild representative in the hall focused on Shifeng. Why does it have to be him? So that's the case. It is no wonder the candlelight trading firm set up its headquarters in White River City. Everyone suddenly came to a realization. However, at the same time, the upper managers of the various large guilds re-evaluated their impression of Zero Wing. The majority of the people present had not understood Zero Wing's true strength. They had only read some reports about the guild. Before arriving in White River City, each guild had investigated the various guilds residing in White River City. The reports had contained a lot of information about Zero Wing. Moreover, after the guild's intelligence agents' detailed investigation of the number 1 guild in White River City, they had quite the high evaluation of Zero Wing. Practically every agent had evaluated Zero Wing as a guild that was above a second-rate guild, but below a first-rate guild. Meanwhile, Zero Wing's guild leader, Black Flame, was even Star Moon Kingdom's number 1 expert. Up till today, Black Flame had yet to suffer a single defeat. Even Overwhelming Smile, the guild secretly supported by Underworld, could only hold the position of number 2 in White River City. When everyone had received these reports, they had simply laughed it off and placed no particular importance on Zero Wing. Now, however, the upper managers of the various large guilds even considered firing those intelligence agents of theirs. Just what had they investigated? How can Zero Wing be so powerful? Galaxy Past's expression became grim when he saw the members of Zero Wing. Guild leader, the woman standing beside Black Flame, isn't she Aqua Rose? An indescribable bitterness welled up in Purple Eye's heart when she saw Aqua Rose. They were old acquaintances. In the past, Aqua Rose had once invited her to join Twilight Echo. However, she had rejected the offer. She had been greatly shocked to find out that Aqua Rose had left Twilight Echo. Twilight Echo was an even stronger guild than the Star Alliance. However, Aqua Rose had left it without hesitation. Moreover, she had even joined a newly established and unknown guild after the fact. When Purple Eye had received this news, she even thought she had heard wrong. She had also felt it was somewhat unfortunate. A capable gamer such as Aqua Rose had taken such a foolish route. Now, however, it would seem that Aqua Rose's decision had not been the wrong one at all. A guild with a single expert was not particularly frightening. However, it was a different story if said guild possessed a large group of experts. Moreover, looking at the nearly 100 people who had entered the hall, each one of them wore equipment that could rival the best equipment the Star Alliance had to offer. So much so that the best-geared members of the Star Alliance were even inferior to some of Zero Wing's core members. Furthermore, the Star Alliance could only scrape together, at most, enough equipment to gear a team of 20 players. It was absolutely impossible for them to equip a 100-man team. One could just imagine how powerful Zero Wing's background was. Moreover, Aqua Rose's current equipment actually consisted of only dark gold equipment. As for the dark red staff in her hand, Purple Eye could not even begin to imagine its rank. However, judging from the amount of pressure it emitted, it was most likely above dark gold rank. Now that Zero Wing had displayed its strength, even Gentle Snow, who was very familiar with Zero Wing, was surprised, not to mention the Star Alliance, which was also a Star Moon Kingdom guild. Regarding this revelation, Gentle Snow could only reveal a bitter smile. She did not know whether she should rejoice or lament right now. Previously, when Shifeng had offered to annex Ouroboros, she had thought that he was being wildly arrogant. However, looking at this dazzling and imposing 100-man team, there might not be a second guild in all of Star Moon Kingdom capable of building up such a team. With the 2 first-rate guilds of Star Moon Kingdom reacting in such a way, there was no need to mention the guilds that had come from a foreign country. Pavilion Master, this Zero Wing seems quite amazing. It has actually obtained so much dark gold equipment. Every one of these players also seem extraordinary, with a few even radiating dangerous auras. A blue-haired girl with bright eyes and slender eyebrows sitting beside the Dragon Pavilion Master exclaimed, giggling. Contrary to her words, her actions made it seem as if she did not take Zero Wings seriously at all. As expected of the number 1 guild of White River City. It really does possess an impressive number of experts. The equipment it possesses is even more surprising. Only, it is a pity that such good equipment is actually being wasted on these people, the handsome youth stated, his gaze revealing a hint of greed. He could not help but admit that the equipment worn by Zero Wings members was indeed amazing. Even the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion did not have so much top-tier equipment, much less first-rate guilds. If he could snatch all of it away. At that time, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would definitely become a bona fide super guild. It might even become even more powerful than a few current super guilds. Pavilion Master, should I secretly rob them all? The robust man named Blood Dragon asked softly. Let's discuss it first. The handsome youth waved his hand. Faintly smiling, he said, whether it is the Candlelight Trading Firm's intermediate mana armor kits or Zero Wings equipment, it seems that my trip to White River City has not been wasted. If I deal with this matter properly, the great Pavilion Master will definitely be pleased. Pavilion Master is truly wise. At that time, I want to see just how the Phoenix Pavilion plans to contend with our Dragon Pavilion, Blood Dragon laughed. Even after silence had gripped the reception hall for some time, Shifeng had not hurried to dive straight into business. Instead, he waved his hand and signaled Melancholic Smile. At this moment, Melancholic Smile opened her mouth and said, Ladies and gentlemen, if you are here to purchase intermediate mana armor kits, please follow me. As our stock is limited, the Candlelight Trading Firm intends to hold a small-scale auction exclusively for you. Saying so, Melancholic Smile led the way out of the reception hall. In response, however, the guild representatives only turned to look at each other, showing no signs of leaving their seats. Who among them was not here to purchase the Candlelight Trading Firm, hoping to earn a massive profit through the transaction? How could they possibly come all the way here just to purchase a few measly intermediate mana armor kits? Particularly, the Dragon Pavilion Master from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion looked utterly uninterested in the intermediate mana armor kits. With the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion taking the lead, everyone would naturally follow. However, among these people, one person stood up from their seat and followed Melancholic Smile. Has Gentle Snow gone insane? Galaxy Past watched Gentle Snow's departing figure. There were so many guilds putting pressure on Zero Wing right now. Even if Zero Wing were strong, it would have no choice but to tread carefully when faced with so many large guilds. Offending so many large guilds at once would be tantamount to suicide. Anyone who had a brain would definitely choose to stay. After all, they could take advantage of the situation to rake in even more profit for themselves, and that was not something a few measly intermediate mana armor kits could hope to compare with. Yet, Gentle Snow had actually chosen to leave. Don't tell me that no one else here is interested in the intermediate mana armor kits? Shifeng asked as he glanced at the seated guests. At this moment, Feng Xianyang stood. Righteously, he said, Guild Leader Black Flame, many of us here have journeyed from far away. We have already shown the Candlelight Trading Firm sufficient respect. If you turn us away empty-handed, our reputations will suffer. That's right, Guild Leader Black Flame. Let's prosper together. Wouldn't it be better if we invest into and develop the Candlelight Trading Firm together? That way, everybody can profit. Many among the crowd began advising Shifeng as they laughed merrily. Among those present, aside from the upper managers of a few first-rate guilds, everyone promptly voiced their agreement. Are all of you of the same opinion? Shifeng calmly asked. You could say that, the Dragon Pavilion Master, 9 Dragons Emperor, suddenly said. However, aside from my interest in the intermediate mana armor kits, I am also very interested in the equipment you all wear. Why don't you state a price? I'll buy all of it. Although 9 Dragons Emperor wore a lukewarm smile, his tone indicated that he would not take no for an answer. Suddenly, the entire venue fell silent. Many of the guild representatives sucked in a breath of cold air. Initially, they had thought that the conditions they had proposed were sufficient. They had never expected that this Dragon Pavilion Master would be even greedier than they were. He actually wanted to devour both the Candlelight Trading Firm and Zero Wing. Chapter 545, Super Guild. Although 9 Dragons Emperor's words were quite arrogant, all of the various guild representatives present knew that this handsome youth before them had certainly earned his arrogance. The fact that the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was hailed as a super first-rate guild, which was the closest existence to a super guild, was not without reason. Great strength had built that reputation. In today's era, virtual reality had long since integrated into everyone's life. Practically everyone would come into contact with virtual reality games in some form. Meanwhile, there were countless virtual gaming guilds. Any guild that the public officially recognized became a third-rate guild. Even though third-rate guilds were nowhere near the top of the gaming industry, they still stood out among the countless guilds in the virtual gaming world. Not only did a third-rate guild possess a certain degree of financial support, but it also possessed a large number of members. Normally, third-rate guilds had also earned some form of achievement in some virtual reality games. Standing above third-rate guilds were second-rate guilds. Not only did second-rate guilds possess abundant capital, but they also possessed quite a number of experts. These experts were normally those who held some fame in the virtual gaming world. As for a second-rate guild's member count, there was no need to even mention that. Normally, a second-rate guild would develop itself in multiple cities simultaneously. As for first-rate guilds, they were normally guilds that had been crowned as overlords in at least a dozen large-scale virtual reality games. Such guilds generally had over a decade of history, having overcome countless, painstaking trials. First-rate guilds had perfected expert training programs and a large network of contacts. Most importantly, these guilds had recruited a large number of experts over the years. Practically all up-and-coming experts of the virtual gaming world would be split between these first-rate guilds. With more experts joining the guild every passing year, there would always be a large number of experts present to support, to battle for, and to bring endless glory to the guild. They were existences far above second-rate guilds. As for super guilds, they were the titans of the virtual gaming world. There were even many virtual reality games that these super guilds had produced personally. They also had their own research teams that were set up to study and improve a person's gaming skills. Super guilds had no shortage of ordinary experts. Aside from recruiting some experts who possessed extraordinary talents, they would usually nurture their own army of experts. As for the various major competitions held in the virtual gaming world, these super guilds organized practically all of them. Meanwhile, the majority of the top-tier experts that had emerged from these competitions every year were usually experts that these super guilds had nurtured. Take Purple Eye and Aqua Rose for example. Both had been nurtured by the same super guild. After undergoing the sharpening of various major competitions and emerging victorious, both had become Rookies of the Year. They had then separated from the super guild they had belonged to develop themselves separately. In fact, this wasn't just limited to the two of them. Many well-known experts in the virtual gaming world had originated from super guilds. This was the amazing part about super guilds. With this aspect alone, super guilds were already leaps and bounds above first-rate guilds. Take the financial prowess backing super guilds for example. All super guilds already stood at the peak of the virtual gaming industry. In a society where virtual reality was so well developed, the economic value of the virtual industry constantly rose. Whether it regarded financial prowess or influence, super guilds were not one bit inferior to international corporations. There were some super guilds that were even stronger. Although the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was not a super guild, in reality, it was not far from becoming one. Only, the pavilion was somewhat young. However, that was only true when compared to actual super guilds. When compared to other first-rate guilds, the pavilion's history was a lot longer than many first-rate guilds in the virtual gaming world. This should be fun, Galaxy Past said as he looked at Shifeng standing near the door, a meaningful grin appearing on his face. Guild leader, you still have the heart to make jokes? If the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion really buys out the candlelight trading firm, wouldn't we have come here for nothing? Purple Eye asked as she frowned at Galaxy Past. She had come from a super guild, so she knew full well just how powerful a super guild's background could be. Although Black Flame was very strong, his strength only mattered in Star Moon Kingdom. If he were in a super guild, he would be considered average. As for the other experts of Zero Wing, a super guild had armies of such individuals. Not to mention, super guilds also possessed plenty of old monsters. Those players were no longer considered human. Only, these old monsters would not normally appear in the public eye, so not many people knew of them. A single flick from a super guild could easily annihilate Zero Wing. If it came down to a fight, Zero Wing wouldn't even be powerful enough to resist. In reality, even an amazing first-rate guild would stand no chance against a super guild, much less Zero Wing. At most, it could only provide a momentary struggle. This was also one of the reasons why there was only a small number of super guilds, despite there being a large number of first-rate guilds in the virtual gaming world. The only reason why super guilds did not go out of their way to compete with first-rate guilds, only contending with opponents of the same level, was because they did not like bullying the weak. It was the same concept as for how an adult would not participate in a fight between children. Doing so would only harm to their reputation. It seems that Gentle Snow's decision was correct. If I had known something like this would happen, would have gone along to purchase some intermediate mana armor kits, Galaxy Past sighed ruefully. Once the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion purchased the candlelight trading firm, it definitely would not sell the intermediate mana armor kits. Rather, it would use those kits to strengthen itself and challenge those super guilds. If he wanted to buy the intermediate mana armor kits, now was his only chance to do so. Meanwhile, sitting in the corner of the reception hall, Feng Xianyang was thoroughly dumbfounded. The situation left him utterly speechless. The higher-ups of Underworld had instructed him to purchase 300 intermediate mana armor kits. If the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion bought the candlelight trading firm, how was he supposed to buy the kits? Melancholic Smile entered the reception hall on the second floor with Gentle Snow behind her. The location Melancholic Smile had led Gentle Snow to was still inside the reception hall. Only, it was situated on the building's second floor. It could be considered a VIP room of sorts. And while the occupants of the first floor could not see the occupants on the second floor, the reverse did not hold true. Not only could one see everything that went on inside the reception hall on the first floor, but one could also hear the first floor's ongoings clearly. Why have you brought me here? Gentle Snow asked, surprised. Miss Snow, please wait a moment, Melancholic Smile said. Guild leader knows that you want a large number of intermediate mana armor kits. However, the supply for the kits is truly too scarce. As the demand for it is very high, he plans to hold an auction for the kits. Meanwhile, the auction will be held right here. As soon as he sends away the guild representatives below, the auction will begin. Send them away? Gentle Snow could not help but glance at the Nine Dragons Emperor. She had seen the Nine Dragons Emperor many times before, so she knew this man's temper. He was the very definition of the word hypocrite. If both sides were on equal footing, then there wouldn't be a problem with discussing business. However, if the other side's strength were inferior to his, only a painful slaughter awaited them. Nine Dragons Emperor was also willing to do whatever it took to achieve his goals, and that included unscrupulous means. Hence, very few people were willing to deal with him. However, it was also this personality that had allowed him to reach the position of Pavilion Master. In a super first-rate guild, it was not easy for one to reach the position of Pavilion Master. Knowing a few tricks was far from enough. One also needed strength and ability. Otherwise, one would not be able to secure their position even if they did manage to obtain it. The fact that Nine Dragons Emperor had held his position firmly for so many years spoke volumes about his strength. Hopefully, he wouldn't do anything stupid, Gentle Snow said somewhat worriedly as she glanced at Shifeng. Inside the reception hall on the first floor, silence filled the venue. Everyone had focused on Shifeng, waiting for his reply despite having already guessed what the outcome would be. You want to buy the Candlelight Trading Firm and Zero Wing? Shifeng laughed. Smiling at the Nine Dragons Emperor calmly, he said, Sure, but I want 60% of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's shares. Chapter 546, Even Dragons Have to Bow. Immediately after Shifeng finished speaking, silence overtook the venue. Every guild representative in the hall was stupefied. Black Flame has gone insane. They all stared at Shifeng with dropped jaws. Who was the Nine Dragons Emperor? He was the Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion. He stood at the very top of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. With a single word, he could easily bring an end to the existence of any second-rate guild in the virtual gaming world. Moreover, the Nine Dragons Emperor was famed for being vicious and merciless. There was once a vice leader of an ordinary first-rate guild who had competed against the Nine Dragons Emperor in an auction for an item. Enraged, Nine Dragons had sent a notice to the first-rate guild and demanded that the vice leader in question grovel and apologize to him, as well as return the item in question. Otherwise, he would take action against this first-rate guild. How could an ordinary first-rate guild possibly hope to contend with the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? Furthermore, the first-rate guild in question had many competitors. Nine Dragons had only needed to give the word, and many other first-rate guilds would have joined hands to take out the offending guild. Having no other option, the first-rate guild sent for the vice leader in question to apologize and offer the item. In the end, however, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion still annihilated the first-rate guild, forcing the guild to migrate to a different virtual reality game. Currently, although Shifeng had not outright stated that he refused to sell, the price he demanded was the same as slapping the Nine Dragons Emperor in the face. Although Nine Dragons was one of the two pavilion masters of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, he only possessed less than 10%. The majority of the pavilion's shares remained in the Great Pavilion Master's hands. Shifeng's demand of 60% of the pavilion's shares was no different than demanding ownership of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion and a position above even his, the Nine Dragons Emperor's. This Black Flame is exactly as the rumors made him out to be. He is simply fearless. Galaxy Past could not help but voice his admiration. Throughout God's domain, other than those super guilds and a few guilds with extremely powerful corporations backing them, there were no guilds that dared provoke the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Even the upper echelons of super guilds would consider their options carefully before humiliating this pavilion master. Although a virtual reality game was only a game, where there were people, there was bound to be conflict. The Nine Dragons Emperor was the face of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Even if Shifeng refused to give in to Nine Dragons' coercion, he should have handled the situation with a more delicate hand. Yet, Shifeng had thrown all pretenses out the window and made a mockery of the Nine Dragons Emperor. Even if it were just for his reputation's sake, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would now go all out to destroy him. Hence, Galaxy Past truly admired Shifeng's courage. He should have shown some restraint and refrained from such an impulsive comeback. If he could have endured the humiliation he has suffered today in order to retaliate another day, he would have gained more of my respect. However, with him acting like a boorish fellow, Zero Wing is truly finished this time, Purple Eye said as she glanced at Shifeng. She then turned to look at Aqua Rose, silently lamenting as she said, "It seems that Aqua Rose has still made the wrong decision. In the end, a small guild will only ever be a small guild. Though it might triumph temporarily, it could not make it last." Meanwhile, in the second-floor reception room, Your guild leader has gone insane. That's the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Moreover, that's the 9 Dragons Emperor he is provoking. Just what is going through your guild leader's head? Even if 9 Dragons doesn't take offense, if word spreads, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion will definitely try to annihilate Zero Wing with everything it has to restore its reputation. Gentle Snow exclaimed as she stared at Melancholic Smile. Based on what she understood of Shifeng, the man was not ignorant. On the contrary, he was quite shrewd with great foresight. Yet, now, he had actually offended the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. She had no idea why Shifeng had done such a thing. Even I don't know what he is trying to do. Melancholic Smile shook her head. She then said, however, after hearing the guild leader's words, I can't help but feel proud. Why are they allowed to bully us, while we are not allowed to resist? Gentle Snow failed to think of a response. Although he was not in the wrong, there was a price to pay for those words. Similarly, the precondition for resisting was to have sufficient strength. Although Zero Wing was relatively powerful, it was still far from a titanic existence like the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Challenging the pavilion at his point was simply suicide. Meanwhile, back in the first-floor reception hall, even the 9 Dragons Emperor himself was stunned. He had never expected Shifeng to be so foolish. Even the heavens would laugh at such folly. However, 9 Dragons could not find it in himself to laugh. Instead, his expression shifted slightly as a cold, killing intent flashed in his eyes. However, this killing intent quickly disappeared. In the next moment, a bright, dazzling smile appeared on the 9 Dragons Emperor's face. Since guild leader Black Flame has no intentions of selling, I won't overstay my welcome. Goodbye. The 9 Dragons Emperor smiled. He then left the reception hall with his subordinates. Everyone else in the reception hall turned to look at each other. What had just happened? That's it? Wasn't he supposed to warn Zero Wing and teach them a lesson? Purple, let's leave as well, then. At this moment, Galaxy Past smiled faintly as he prepared to leave the building. Guild leader, are we not going to negotiate with Zero Wing? Are we just leaving? Purple Eye asked curiously. It had taken quite some effort to embark on this trip. After all, Galaxy Past was the guild leader of the Star Alliance. If he left White River City without obtaining even the tiniest harvest, he would become a laughingstock. It will be meaningless. If even the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion has been treated in such a way, do you think Black Flame will agree to sell the Candlelight Trading Firm to us? Galaxy Past shook his head. He then explained, also, a war is going to begin in White River City, so don't you think we should return quickly? War? Purple Eye suddenly came to a realization. Although 9 Dragons Emperor had left the building peacefully and had not made any vicious remarks, in reality, killing intent filled his heart. It would have been foolish of him to reveal his thoughts inside the Candlelight Trading Firm. Inside this shop, Black Flame's words were law. Anyone who dared spout profanities inside the building would only be sentenced to death. Only a brain-dead fool would risk that just to sate his pride. Most likely, the 9 Dragons Emperor would notify his subordinates, instructing them to annihilate Zero Wing the moment he returned to the Black Dragon Empire. He would not give Black Flame the chance to react. Ha ha ha. Black Flame, so even you will have such a day. Feng Xianyang grinned like a drunk fool. At this point, there was no doubt that the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would obliterate Zero Wing. However, based on the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's prestige, it would abhor remaining in a small location like White River City. Once Zero Wing was annihilated, Overwhelming Smile would automatically become the #1 guild of White River City without even needing him to expend any effort. Afterward, the various guild representatives promptly left the Candlelight Trading Firm. Not a single guild chose to stay behind. At this moment, Aqua Rose turned to Shifeng, wearing a grim expression as she said, Guild leader, now that you have provoked the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, the pavilion will not let us off the hook. The pavilion's background is also not something first-rate guilds like the Star Alliance and Ouroboros could hope to compare with. They have countless experts in their midst. They also have plenty of great experts who are famous in the virtual gaming world. If they dispatch a large number of experts to ambush our guildmates, the resulting death count will far surpass that of our war with Overwhelming Smile. Even Underworld was already capable of dispatching over 200 battle-experienced experts, not to mention the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. The pavilion most likely had plenty of top-tier experts as well. It was simply not in existence that Zero Wing could contend with. Within the region of White River City, even a dragon has to bow before Zero Wing. You should prepare. There will be fun to be had soon, Shifeng laughed. He then left the first-floor reception hall and headed to the VIP room on the second floor. Naturally, Shifeng had his own reasons for slapping the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's face. The first reason, it had felt awesome. He was an expert who had set foot into the flowing water realm. He was even geared with a complete Tier 1 set equipment and fragmented legendary and epic ranked rings. He even wielded a magic weapon. So, how could he possibly concede to a pavilion master of a super first-rate guild? In the past, even a real super guild had to cower in fear when facing the Midnight Tea Party, a 20-man independent team. Currently, he was in possession of weapons and equipment that were far superior to anyone else's. He also had several large-scale destruction spells. Not to mention, White River City was his home ground. Why wouldn't he challenge a super first-rate guild? As for the second reason, it was to forge the guild. If one wanted to improve on their skills, they only needed to do one thing. Fight. Experts were not nurtured through dungeon raids, but through live battles against other players. Overwhelming Smile was no longer a challenge, so they had to choose a stronger opponent to pit themselves against. In any case, Zero Wing did not lack money. They could afford to fight the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Chapter 547, Shocking God's Domain. Aqua Rose revealed a bitter smile as she watched Shifeng's departing figure. However, when she considered the situation from a different perspective, Shifeng's decision was not necessarily a bad thing. In the past, other than super guilds, there really weren't any guilds that had dared provoke the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Now that Zero Wing had made a fuss, even if they were defeated, it would be a glorious defeat. Moreover, suffering defeat in God's domain did not equal annihilation. God's domain was not as simple as other virtual reality games. Thoroughly annihilating a guild was easier said than done. It was similar to Zero Wing's efforts to chase Overwhelming Smile out of White River City. Despite having massacred Overwhelming Smile's members, not only did the guild still reside in White River City, but it was also getting by quite well. Only, the guild was forced to maintain a low profile, and its development had slowed significantly. Although the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had a lot of experts, and its financial prowess was enormous, it would not be able to extinguish Zero Wing in White River City easily. Not to mention, Zero Wing also had the Candlelight trading firm supplying it with coins. Alright, let's head back and prepare. White River City won't be so peaceful from now on. Saying so, Aqua Rose left the Candlelight trading firm with Zero Wing's core members. Meanwhile, inside the VIP room on the second floor, Shifeng had already begun to discuss business with Gentle Snow. Guild leader Black Flame, this move of yours is truly incomprehensible, Gentle Snow said, confusion plastered on her snow-white face. She could not help but ask, Guild leader Black Flame, you should know that there are a total of 7 first-rate guilds competing over the Black Dragon Empire. Although 2 of them are not based in the Empire, they have invested a significant sum into the branch's development. Yet, despite there being so many first-rate guilds in the Empire, only the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion has a branch guild set up in the Imperial capital. None of the other first-rate guilds have set up their branch guilds there yet. Do you know why? The Imperial capital isn't a nice place to live. Shifeng laughed. Gentle Snow rolled her eyes. He was clearly pretending to be stupid. Helpless, she explained, that is because the branch leader there is Blood Dragon, one of 9 Dragon's Emperor's most formidable generals. Blood Dragon is a violent man, and he loves battles more than anything. He also has a group of experts under him called the Blood Legion. If any guilds refuse to submit to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion and dare to reside in the Imperial capital, then this Blood Legion will come forward. The Blood Legion will secretly target these guilds, going as far as to ambush the upper echelons even while still within the city limits. None of these first-rate guilds wish to drop all pretense of cordiality with the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion and allow others to take advantage of the situation. Hence, they had no better option but to withdraw from the Imperial capital and develop in other cities. If the pavilion sends the Blood Legion to White River City, it won't be a good thing for Zero Wing. Shifeng simply revealed a faint smile in response to Gentle Snow's words. Naturally, he knew all of this information. Moreover, his understanding of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was even more thorough than Gentle Snow's. The Blood Legion's fame was not one bit exaggerated. The Blood Legion was also known as the Assassination Legion, comprised of a group of assassins that the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion had carefully nurtured. Anyone who opposed the Heavenly Dragon Legion would oftentimes find themselves killed back to level 0 the following day. The result would not change even if one hid inside a city. It was not an easy feat to kill players inside a city. It was especially so for a major city. Even if one managed to kill a player, the city guards would still kill them and deliver a severe punishment. In mild cases, this punishment would be a jail sentence of several days. In severe cases, it was highly possible that the guards would first execute the player multiple times, then jail them for a dozen days or so, and finally, chase them out of and bar entry to the city. If this player dared show their face in the city, the guards would execute them on the spot. Unless that player did not mind losing a few levels and being locked up for a few weeks, or they no longer wished to reside in the city any longer, they normally would not take action inside an NPC city. During the initial stages of God's domain, the various large guilds already wished they could split in two to hasten their development. One could just imagine how much of a loss it would be for a guild to have its experts locked up for days or weeks. Every guild treated its experts like treasures. Losing an expert for a single day could cause immense damage to a guild, not to mention a jail sentence of a few days. However, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion paid these consequences no mind. They had plenty of experts to go around. This was the pavilion's strength. Forget it. I've already told you about the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Since you made me wait so long, may I know how many intermediate mana armor kits guild leader Black Flame intends to sell to me? Shifeng's unperturbed attitude left Gentle Snow utterly speechless. At this moment, however, her own situation did not look too well either, so she could not be of any help even if she wanted to. Miss Snow, how many do you want? Shifeng simply laughed off Gentle Snow's worries, not bothering to offer her any explanation. However, he knew that Gentle Snow sincerely wanted to help him. He also understood that she was currently powerless to help him. Hearing Shifeng's question, Gentle Snow pondered for a moment before asking softly, "Do you have enough to gear a 50-man team?" Everybody knew how precious the intermediate mana armor kits were. Even partnered guilds were only allowed to purchase 21 kits at a time. That amount was only sufficient to gear 9 players at most. Beyond that, it was extremely difficult to obtain any more kits, as all those who had managed to purchase them refused to part with them. It was impossible for any guild, other than Zero Wing, to obtain a sufficient number of intermediate mana armor kits to gear a 50-man team fully. Okay, but the Candlelight Trading Firm requires a large amount of rare materials. In the future, I will require Ouroboros to sell the majority of the materials it obtains to the Candlelight Trading Firm, Shifeng said. Currently, Zero Wing was still capable of meeting the Candlelight Trading Firm's demand. However, as the firm developed, the materials it required would increase. At that time, Zero Wing alone would not be enough to satisfy the demand of the Candlelight Trading Firm. However, if a first-rate guild like Ouroboros supplied the firm, there would no longer be any problems. Once I return, I'll instruct my subordinates to send you the materials. Gentle Snow nodded in agreement. In any case, she was tight on money right now. If she could convert some of the guild's materials into coins, it would help her greatly. After Sherfone and Gentle Snow concluded their trade, the matter of Zero Wings guild leader, Black Flame, provoking the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had already spread throughout God's domain. As a super first-rate guild, any minor matter relating to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would receive the attention of the various large guilds in the virtual gaming world, not to mention a major incident such as a guild openly insulting them. For a time, everyone began to pay attention to the Star Moon Kingdom, to Zero Wing, and to Black Flame. Crap, Black Flame must have gone insane. He actually dared to slap the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion in the face. Does he not want to play God's domain anymore? What do you know? Black Flame is super amazing. He is a titled expert on the God's domain ranking list. He has his own pride, naturally, so how could he possibly hand over the candlelight trading firm he had built by himself? I wonder what the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion will do. Isn't it obvious? If Dragon Phoenix Pavilion does not flatten a guild like Zero Wing, will it still qualify to be called a super first-rate guild? News and talk of the conflict between the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion and Zero Wing filled God's domain's forums. As for super guilds, they, too, had fun watching from the sidelines. Currently, while all of God's domain was in an uproar, the atmosphere inside one of White River City's high-class restaurants was extremely awkward. Pavilion Master, leave this matter to this subordinate. I will give Black Flame more than what he bargained for, the robust blood dragon requested respectfully. I never expected to encounter such a blind fool in this far-off city. Now, every player in God's domain knows of this incident. The great Pavilion Master has even sent me a message personally, telling me to deal with this matter as visibly as possible and show those super guilds that the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion is no longer just a super first-rate guild. Rather, it is a super guild that stands on equal footing, Nine Dragons Emperor said, a bone-chilling glint flashing in his eyes. Curling up his lips, he said, since the great Pavilion Master has issued the command, we cannot take this matter lightly. Notify the War Dragon Legion and have them meet us here immediately. I want to destroy Zero Wing's guild residents personally. Chapter 548, War Dragon Legion. The War Dragon Legion. Blood Dragon could not help but suck in a breath of cold air when he heard this name. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was divided into two pavilions, the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion and the Phoenix Pavilion. Both pavilions had their own strongest legions. The Heavenly Dragon Pavilion's strongest force was the War Dragon Legion. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion nurtured its own experts internally. Among these experts, only the best of the best were allowed into the War Dragon Legion. One could say that the War Dragon Legion was the strongest legion specially established to contend with super guilds. Blood Dragon had also come from the War Dragon Legion. Who wouldn't be shocked by the Nine Dragons Emperor summoning the War Dragon Legion? Pavilion Master, aren't we just dealing with a small guild? Is there really a need for such a commotion? Chaos Dancer, the beautiful woman seated beside Nine Dragons Emperor, advised, in fact, we can rely on the Blood Legion to get rid of Zero Wing. If we expose the strength of the War Dragon Legion right now, won't we waste a trump card that we could use against those super guilds in the future? It doesn't matter. Since joining God's domain, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion has yet to achieve anything significant. Now that everyone is watching the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, it is a good opportunity for an excellent performance, Nine Dragons Emperor said, smiling playfully. Moreover, Zero Wing's reputation is not insignificant. If we can finish off Zero Wing swiftly, it will serve as a shock to some of those weaklings and let everyone know that the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion is no longer a super first-rate guild, but a true super guild. Understood. This subordinate will notify the War Dragon Legion immediately. Chaos Dance then began contacting the War Dragon Legion. Time passed little by little. While the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion prepared to deal with Zero Wing, other guilds did not idle and do nothing. Every one of them gathered their members in White River City. For a time, experts swarmed White River City. Despite it obviously being daytime, the number of players filling the streets surpassed even nighttime. Among all these players, aside from those that large guilds had sent, there were plenty of ordinary players who had hurried over from other cities. Players throughout God's domain knew about the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's intentions to take out Zero Wing. Although this was clearly a one-sided battle, many players still wanted to witness the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's strength. Hence, many ordinary players had hurried to White River City to watch the show. However, it was also this reason that boosted the candlelight trading firm's business. Among the items sold by the firm, light stones were the most popular. The candlelight trading firm's income had practically recovered to its peak, earning nearly 1,000 gold in 1 hour. As a result, Melancholic Smile and the others at the candlelight trading firm focused fully on their work. Old 5, I heard that Black Flame defeated you and Old 6 even after you two cooperated. This incident has not impressed the higher-ups, and they've started to look down on our 7 ghosts. When the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion deals with Zero Wing, we need to deal with this matter properly, a thin, middle-aged man with bronze skin said seriously. Brother 3, rest assured, I will not damage our reputation, 5th ghost said, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Previously, even though he had worked with 6th ghost, Black Flame still defeated them. Moreover, they had even lost all of their equipment they upon dying and had been barred from entering the game for 2 whole days. By now, they had both become laughingstocks in Underworld. This time, in order to restore the 7 ghosts' reputation, they needed to avenge themselves properly and complete the tasks the higher-ups had given them. All is well as long as you know it. Our task is very simple this time, assist young Master Feng in obtaining 300 intermediate mana armor kits. It will be even better if we can obtain even more equipment and kits. However, since the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion is spearheading this matter, it is best if we keep a low profile. So, first, let's focus on getting the 300 intermediate mana armor kits, the Thin Man, 3rd ghost, said. This time, to ensure we complete our task, I have even called Old 4 and Old 7 to help us. With the 5 of us, we should be able to take down Black Flame easily. The only thing we have to worry about is the pavilion itself. It is best if we form a proper plan. On this point, Brother 3rd Ghost, please rest assured. Based on my investigations, the Blood Dragon subordinates, the Blood Legion, will not be involved this time. The 9 Dragons Emperor has called in the War Dragon Legion instead. Every member of the War Dragon Legion is proud and arrogant, and they usually look down on everyone else. They should not pay any attention to us should we move against Zero Wing, Feng Xianyang explained, smiling faintly. As insurance, I have even had a large group of elites come over from Maple City. With such a powerful force, Black Flame will have no hope of survival. Having the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion deal with Zero Wing is already overkill. Adding us into the mix, Black Flame will die with a 100% certainty. Even if he is even more powerful than we suspect, he will have to consider his options carefully. At that time, he will willingly hand over the 300 intermediate mana armor kits, 5th Ghost laughed coldly. If he refuses, then I'll give him a taste of what it feels like to wish for death. All of White River City's various large guilds, including Overwhelming Smile, considered and prepared to strike against Zero Wing while it was down, taking the opportunity to benefit from the guild's downfall. Meanwhile, in a high-class bar a short distance from Zero Wing's guild residence, many upper managers of guilds had gathered. The entire 3-story building was packed full of players. Among them, first-rate guilds fully occupied all of the private rooms on the 3rd floor. From these rooms, one could clearly see every movement around Zero Wing's guild residence. Guild leader, don't you think that Zero Wing is acting strangely? Even now, they are still so carefree. They have not taken any precautionary measures at all. Is this Black Flame pretending to be a fool, or is he actually one? Purple Eye frowned as she watched Zero Wing's guild residence through the window. There's nothing surprising about this. Black Flame simply does not understand the 9 Dragons Emperor's character. Look at the people inside the bar for example. Aren't most of them members of first-rate guilds? Meanwhile, a newly established guild like Zero Wing and a newcomer to the virtual gaming world like Black Flame don't know 9 Dragon style of conduct. Thus, he continues with his carefree manner, Galaxy Past said, laughing. Downing a mouthful of flame beer, he continued, "The Nine Dragons Emperor is someone who conducts himself with a lofty tone and does not play his cards according to common sense. This time, he has even secretly mobilized the War Dragon Legion to deal with Zero Wing, making a fuss over a minor incident. Naturally, the only reason why he would mobilize such a powerful legion is to destroy Zero Wing's guild residence. A guild residence is different from a private shop. While inside the shop, the manager is invincible. However, it is a different story for a guild residence. It is slightly troublesome to deal with the residence's hired guards, and there are also the city guards who patrol the streets. With current players' levels and equipment, it is still impossible to resist the patrolling guards. Hence, no sane guild would attempt to attack another guild's residence. However, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion is no trivial existence. One cannot measure by the strength of an ordinary guild. Moreover, the Nine Dragons Emperor is no fool. I keep getting the feeling that he has some sort of trick up his sleeve. Otherwise, he would not have sent the War Dragon Legion, a trump card that he had prepared for facing super guilds. What we need to do now is wait for the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion to make its move. Once they take action and Zero Wing falls, we can begin our operation as well." Purple Eye nodded silently. This time, the Star Alliance had sent quite a number of elites and experts. They were not afraid that Zero Wing would not fall today. Instead, it was only a matter of how much profit they could gain. However, the various large guilds, including the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, was ignorant of one point. Shifeng was a reincarnator. Moreover, he had also been the guild leader of a second-rate guild in the past. In order to survive in God's domain's harsh conditions, he had endured relentless pain and suffering. As far as understanding massive existences like the Nine Dragons Emperor. The Nine Dragons Emperor, most likely, did not have a better understanding than Shifeng. Chapter 549, Leave None Alive. Inside the meeting room in Zero Wing's guild residence. Zero Wing's core members filled the large meeting room. Everyone could feel the tension in the air. War was imminent. Although Zero Wing had succeeded in suppressing overwhelming smile in White River City, their current enemy, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, was a lot stronger than overwhelming smile. The two guilds were on entirely different levels. Every player present fully understood how severe of a situation they were in. They also knew that it was highly unlikely that they would overcome this hurdle. Seated on the guild leader's throne, Shifeng suddenly asked, "You must think that I am a fool, right?" However, the only answer he received was silence. Not a single person answered his question. Everyone only stared at their guild leader, who was shrouded in mystery, quietly. "I know the answer even without you saying a word," Shifeng laughed. Casual and relaxed, he said, "Everyone must think that I have gone insane, that I overestimate myself by challenging a super first-rate guild like the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Until now, aside from super guilds, not a single guild dares to make an enemy of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Do you know why? The reason is very simple: they are simply too strong. They are strong enough that other guilds despair at the thought of them as an enemy. I believe that you should know all that. At this time, many guilds have already begun to prepare to take advantage of our misfortune. Every one of them is closely eyeing us like prey. There is not a single guild out there that thinks we might come out of this on top. They all believe that we will lose without a doubt and that our names will soon be wiped from God's domain. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. Since the very beginning, whether it is the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion or the various other first-rate guilds, none of these people have seen us as equals. Since the very beginning, they have thought of us as weak. So, they have come to bully us, to drink our blood and eat our flesh, to destroy us. However, I will warn them now. They will be disappointed. Since there has never been a guild courageous enough to challenge the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, then, today, we will be the first to make history. We will show everyone that Zero Wing is not a guild they can afford to provoke. If they wish to plunder our corpses, they'll have to seek permission from the swords in our hands first. The battle is to the strong. Today, let us teach the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion a lesson. The moment Shifeng finished his speech, everyone suddenly felt their blood boil. None of them had ever thought that such a day would come. Throughout the virtual gaming world, other than super guilds, there had never been a guild daring enough to provoke and challenge the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. However, Zero Wing dared. Moreover, Zero Wing's guild leader himself led this challenge. Isn't it just a super first-rate guild? I've long since grown tired of looking at their faces. Today, I'll use them to release some stress. Cola laughed excitedly. Ha ha ha. Guild leader, I've been waiting for you to say that. I'm bored of battling overwhelming smile constantly. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion has arrived at just the right time. It just so happens that I can use them to test my recent improvement. Blackie licked his lips, revealing an eager grin. Guild leader, tell us how we should deal with the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. I want to be the first one to have a go at them. Flying Shadow said excitedly. This is seriously insane. Aqua Rose shook her head helplessly. In the next moment, however, she smiled and said, but I like it. For a time, every Zero Wing member of the meeting room talked and laughed with each other, the heavy atmosphere from before vanishing. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was indeed strong. However, they were not a bunch of weak and powerless noobs either. Since the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion dared to oppress them using force, they would show the pavilion that it had chosen a wrong opponent. They would let the pavilion know that the opponent it was about to face was not a weak, little cub, but rather, it was a ferocious beast with sharp fangs and claws. If I am not mistaken, it is highly possible that the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion will strike once the sun sets. Fire Dance, how are the preparations going on your side? Shifeng asked as he turned to the sharp and mesmerizing Fire Dance. Based on Shifeng's understanding of Nine Dragons Emperor, there was an 80% chance that he intended to destroy Zero Wing's guild residence. If a guild residence were destroyed, it could not be repaired within 10 days' time. Moreover, if a guild residence were destroyed, all members of the corresponding guild within the city would receive a penalty. Not only would all members lose a level, but their EXP gain would also be halved for the following 10 days. The guild's popularity would drop by 50,000 points as well. Moreover, after the destroyed guild residence was reconstructed, the quality of the guild quests the guild would receive would be significantly affected. The best time to destroy a guild residence was at night. Players' greatest foe when trying to destroy an enemy guild residence was not other players, but the patrolling NPC city guards. These city guards were no trivial matter, they were all level 150 NPCs. To players, they were nightmares. These NPCs only needed one hit to finish off the current players of God's domain. However, the number of patrolling city guards would change depending on the time of day. During the day, these NPCs always patrolled in groups of 20. By the time night arrived, however, that number would decrease to 10. If a guild attacked an enemy guild residence at night, it could notably lessen its losses. That way, the guild would have more combat power to spare for destroying the enemy guild residence. Meanwhile, since Shifeng dared to provoke the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, he had naturally prepared. If one wished to destroy a guild residence, aside from the city guards, there were also the hired guards inside the guild residence to contend with. Although the hired guards were not as powerful as the level 150 city guards, they were still genuine level 50 NPCs. Meanwhile, depending on the employed NPC's strength, the asking price of said NPC would vary. Tier 0 guards cost 5 silver per day, whereas Tier 1 guards cost 30 silver per day. When hiring these guards, one had to prepay 10 days of their services. Shifeng was a viscount, and all this time, he had been hiring a mix of 50 Tier 1 and Tier 0 guards to defend Zero Wing's guild residence. However, seeing as the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion led this assault, he had not hesitated to replace all of his guards with Tier 1 NPCs. In any case, what he had was money. In addition, since early on, Shifeng had told everyone in the guild to focus on raising their reputation. Hence, at this moment in time, there were also many people within the guild who had high reputation. For example, Fire Dance, Aqua Rose, Blackie, and several other core members of Zero Wing did not lack reputation points. Although they had yet to become viscounts like Shifeng, they were barons, and every one of them was capable of hiring 10 level 50 Tier 1 NPCs. In total, they had over 200 Tier 1 NPCs employed right now. This was a very powerful force. It's done. They all are hiding and lying in wait. Fire Dance nodded, a playful smile appearing on her face. Time slowly ticked by. While everyone waited for the start of the battle, night arrived in God's domain. Currently, players clogged the streets neighboring Zero Wing's guild residence. Pavilion Master, all 1,000 men from the War Dragon Legion are in position, a valiant and extraordinary-looking youth reported to Nine Dragons Emperor. The War Dragon Legion was the strongest force in the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion's arsenal. As of today, it had never been used to deal with any guild less than a super guild. The Legion consisted of 1,000 players, and every one of these players wore level 25 fine gold equipment. A few even had level 25 dark gold equipment. These legionnaires' levels also ranged from level 27 to level 28. These players were definitely at the peak of God's domain in terms of levels. Every member also radiated a sharp and penetrating aura. Although the War Dragon Legion consisted of 1,000 members, they felt like an army of tens of thousands that was capable of mass destruction. Meanwhile, among these players, the man reporting to Nine Dragons Emperor was even more extraordinary. He was the War Dragon Legion's commander, Martial Dragon. He was a level 28 berserker, and the majority of his equipment consisted of level 25 dark gold equipment. The greatsword he wielded was also of indiscernible quality. However, judging by the blade's capability of even tearing apart air, one could tell that it was an exceptional item with a single glance. Aside from the War Dragon Legion's 1,000 players, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had also dispatched close to 10,000 elite players. These elite players were all level 25 and above. It was a truly shocking sight. Only a first-rate guild would be capable of dispatching so many elite players. Were it not for the transportation fees, this number would have most likely been several times higher. Many players involuntarily trembled when they saw the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's war formation from afar. This was the power of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Regarding both financial prowess and manpower, ordinary first-rate guilds simply could not compare to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Ha ha ha. Zero Wing is truly finished this time. Sitting in a third-floor private room of a high-class bar, Feng Xianyang felt indescribable joy well up in his heart when he saw the pavilion's army. It's as expected of Martial Dragon, the commander of the War Dragon Legion. I can feel that terrifying aura of his even from such a distance. Fear filled Fifth Ghost's heart when he looked at the valiant Martial Dragon. Martial Dragon is a true mutant. He is not human at all. Even our boss has said so. Otherwise, he would not be capable of becoming the War Dragon Legion's commander. If we encounter him, it is best that we avoid provoking him, Third Ghost reminded his brothers in arms. Meanwhile, standing on the street, Nine Dragons Emperor swept a glance over the army before him. In the next moment, he waved his hand and pointed at Zero Wing's guild residence. Very calmly, he said, "Go. Leave none alive." Chapter 550, Exceeding Expectations. Under Nine Dragons Emperor's command, the members of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion charged toward Zero Wing's guild residence. The pavilion's army's attack was organized. A majority of the pavilion's elite players were positioned in the front of the army, whereas the War Dragon Legion occupied the middle, and the remaining elite players took up the rear. These players were further separated into groups. However, unlike guild wars that usually involve thousands of players, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had grouped its members into parties of 6. Each party consisted of MTs, healers, and ranged and melee damage dealers, the standard compositions of a dungeon party. Although this militaristic configuration was not suited for a large battlefield, it was perfect for battles in narrow terrains such as a city. The army could react to all sorts of problems in a timely manner. It has finally begun. Purple, did you order those assassins under you to record this battle? Galaxy Past, who sat comfortably in a third-floor private room of the high-class bar, asked. Smiling, he stated, this is a good opportunity to collect data on the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, particularly the experts from the War Dragon Legion. Every member of the Legion is worth noting. It might come in handy in the future. This high-class bar offered an excellent vantage point. He could see practically everything that occurred around Zero Wing's residence. However, Galaxy Past was still not satisfied with this. He had positioned assassins under his command in several other buildings in order to record the battle from the closest distance possible. Just how strong was the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? Particularly, how was the pavilion's strength after joining God's domain? Other than a few upper managers of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, nobody knew the answer to these questions. Now that the pavilion launched an assault on Zero Wing's residence, it was clear to see that their strength was nothing to scoff at. Otherwise, every large guild would have already attacked guild residences that they found to be an eyesore instead of letting those guilds with little strength live this long. Just the patrolling guards were enough trouble. The hired guards were no trivial matter either, they all were level 50 NPCs. To current players, these level 50 NPCs were still too powerful to handle. However, the truly troublesome issue was the players of the guild itself. Zero Wing had definitely taken some precautionary measures. It was normal for around 20 to 30,000 players to defend the guild residence at all times. Even if the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had deployed the War Dragon Legion, Zero Wing's guild residence would not be so easily destroyed. The pavilion would have to reveal some of its true capabilities, and this was precisely what Galaxy Past, and all of the other large guilds watching, wanted to witness. As God's domain was still in its early stages, there had yet to be any major conflicts between the various first-rate guilds, super guilds, and the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. However, that would not necessarily remain the case in the future. It was better to prepare ahead of time. Hence, the Star Alliance wasn't the only guild to send a large group of assassins to record the battle. Many other guilds had also dispatched their assassins, all of them hoping to uncover even the smallest detail about the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's background. Meanwhile, inside Zero Wing's residence, the guild's members had long since prepared for the upcoming war. Every one of them stood, waiting, inside the guild residence. Guild leader, they've arrived. Initial estimates put their number somewhere over 10,000, with the weakest among them being elite players. Their equipment is also a match for our elite members, Aqua Rose reported. Everyone's heart skipped a beat upon hearing Aqua Rose's report. Although Zero Wing had 50,000 members, they only had around 14,500 elites. Yet, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had casually mustered a force of 10,000 elite players. This was simply too frightening. Sure enough, the pavilion is both rich and powerful, Shurfeng laughed. This situation did not surprise him. After all, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was a super first-rate guild. Even though White River City was not the pavilion's home ground, it would still be child's play for it to obliterate a second-rate guild. Move out, then. Coordinate your attacks with the NPCs, core members. Your main goal is to fend off the pavilion's War Dragon Legion. As for the enemy elites, they are just cannon fodder. Don't worry about them. Yes, sir. Everyone from Zero Wing unsheathed their weapons as a single unit, preparing to meet the oncoming threat. This time, Shurfeng did not bother to send for many members to defend the guild residence. The defending players consisted only of Zero Wing's elite and core members with a total just over 14,000 players. It was not because Shurfeng did not want more people defending the residence. Only, having more people was not necessarily a good thing. A normal member of the guild would only find their death by joining this battle. Moreover, the battlefield was very cramped. There was simply no way to display the advantage of numbers here. On the contrary, having too many members in the battle would only obstruct the elite members. As the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's army was about to charge through the residence's entrance, the ranged classes of Zero Wing got ready to launch their spells and arrows. If an outsider barged into the residence without explicit permission, guild members were allowed to kill said outsider without needing to fear any repercussions. The city guards would not take action against the guild members. On the contrary, if an outsider attacked people inside the residence, the city guards would rush towards the residence to apprehend them. As elemental mana began to gather above Zero Wing's residence and patrolling city guards began to charge over, Nine Dragons Emperor suddenly shouted, "Activate the scrolls." Suddenly, several MTs at the forefront of the army revealed black magic scrolls that they had kept hidden for quite some time now. The MTs immediately unfurled the scrolls and activated them. In the next moment, the elemental mana filing the space above Zero Wing's residence started going berserk. Curse scroll? Shifeng was genuinely surprised when he saw the magic scrolls in his enemy's hands. Magic scrolls fit into various categories. However, the rarest had to be ones that carried curses. This was a type of forbidden spell. All curses possessed an astonishing might, and it was not easy to turn it into a magic scroll. Hence, it was extremely difficult to obtain even one curse scroll. Yet, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had actually managed to reveal 4 such scrolls. It was simply inconceivable. At this moment, however, even Nine Dragons Emperor's face twitched slightly. 4 curse scrolls. He had only managed to obtain these 4 scrolls after gathering the entirety of the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion's power. Now that he was using all of them in one go, and on a small, nameless guild no less, even he felt the sting of the loss. 4 curse scrolls. Consider this your burial, Zero Wing. Nine Dragons Emperor smiled faintly at the dark clouds gathering in the sky. Suddenly, black rain began to fall. As if these black raindrops had lives of their own, they attached themselves to all players caught within the spell's vicinity. Dark God's Descent. Shifeng paled instantly. Although he wanted to defend against this spell, Dark God's Descent was unblockable. Even if he had magic immunity, it wouldn't change a thing. Dark God's Descent was a silencing curse. With 4 of these curse scrolls being used simultaneously, the forbidden spell's effective radius and duration increased significantly. It was definitely an efficient weapon for team battles. At this moment, a Dark God status imperceptibly appeared in everyone's status window, the duration lasting for 1 full hour. In other words, within the next hour, any players within the curse's effective radius were unable to use any of their spells. They could not even use the tools they had inside their bags. To put it simply, players could only participate in melee combat. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had obviously prepared these curses as a countermeasure for large-scale destruction spells and NPCs. Blood Dragon, lead some elites to pin down the patrolling guards and let Martial Dragon handle the rest, Nine Dragons Emperor ordered. He then turned to look at Chaos Dancer, saying, "Let's go, we'll watch the show from upstairs." After receiving the command, Blood Dragon led the elite players, who were positioned at the rear line and remained unaffected by the Dark God, and charged towards the 10-level 150 patrolling guards. At the same time, Martial Dragon shouted, "Kill! Annihilate Zero Wing! Leave not a single player alive!" The War Dragon Legion suddenly charged into Zero Wing's residence. As for the other elite players, they were tasked to delay the residence's NPC guards. When silenced, an expert strength stepped into the spotlight. When the War Dragon Legion's 1,000 members charged into Zero Wing's 10,000-plus elite members, they were like wolves among a flock of sheep. Immediately, the members of the War Dragon Legion started a slaughter. At this point, Zero Wing possessed more than 400 Tier 1 players. It had more Tier 1 players than every guild in White River City combined. Naturally, all those capable of becoming Tier 1 classes at this stage of the game employed powerful techniques. Even if they were not yet experts, they were not far from that hurdle. Zero Wing's members were also famed for having amazing equipment. Even if their techniques were lacking, they could make up the gap with their equipment. In front of absolute strength, all manner of tricks were useless. Even so, Zero Wing possessed far fewer experts than the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Not to mention, the members of the War Dragon Legion were experts who had undergone careful screening. Do you think we're that easily bullied? All guards, to the lines. Shurfeng commanded. Suddenly, an additional 200 Tier 1 NPCs emerged from the guild hall. Moreover, these Tier 1 NPCs were all melee classes. Chapter 551, Fleeting Scene. The originally imposing Dragon Phoenix Pavilion members were immediately shocked by the appearance of the 200 level 50 Tier 1 NPCs. Nine Dragons Emperor, who watched the battle from afar, also wore a grim expression. Didn't the report say that they only had around 50 plus NPCs? Nine Dragons Emperor turned to the intelligence agent beside him. Snapping, he yelled, "Just what have you all been doing? You failed to report on 200 Tier 1 NPCs. Tell me. What is going on here?" A single level 50 Tier 1 NPC was very difficult to deal with. Each one required a team of elite members to pin down. Now that there was an additional 200, this would greatly affect his plans. Suddenly, cold sweat appeared on the forehead of the reconnaissance unit's leader. He was so frightened he could not utter a single word. Originally, he had tried to think of an excuse to save himself. However, he knew full well what kind of personality the Nine Dragons Emperor had. The more he tried to justify himself, the graver the consequences would be. Forget it. You won't have to do your job anymore. Someone will replace you in the future. Nine Dragons Emperor waved his hand, having his subordinates escort the recon leader out of the building and dismissing him from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Chaos, instruct the Blood Legion to send help. With the Blood Legion's strength, they should be able to hold back 200 NPCs. At this moment, Nine Dragons couldn't care less about how Zero Wing had managed to obtain all of these NPCs. He had no choice but to involve the originally inactive Blood Legion in the battle. Understood. This subordinate will lead them over now. Chaos Dancer nodded and smiled. A short moment later, the 1,000-strong Blood Legion, which had been on standby, charged into Zero Wing's guild residence. Meanwhile, the various large guilds watching the battle from afar were also shocked by the sudden change. Sure enough, Zero Wing is quite capable. With so many Tier 1 NPCs, even the Blood Legion will not be able to hold them off for long. After all, each level 50 Tier 1 NPC is the equivalent of a level 50 special elite. Galaxy Past sighed. If any other first-rate guild stood in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's place right now, they would have no chance against Zero Wing. Particularly, that large-scale silencing spell the pavilion had used before the battle began significantly restricted the NPC's combat power and had even sealed Zero Wing's large-scale destruction spells. Zero Wing had lost all their advantages with just this single move. Meanwhile, inside Zero Wing's residence, a melee battle had broken out. The scene in the residence looked just like a battlefield from ancient times. Currently, the magical classes, who boasted the highest power, could only fight using their staffs. The magical classes in God's domain were different from other virtual reality games. They were not completely incapable of participating in melee combat, but they were not specialized in it. They possessed very few skills that could be used in a melee battle. In addition, their classes mainly focused on intelligence and vitality, making them even more inferior in melee combat. At this moment, however, nobody could care less. Even the healers of either side fought each other, not to mention the other magical classes. Compared to the one-on-one fights between the magical classes, the battles between the physical classes were intense. Currently, none of them could use any skills or tools and had to rely solely on their combat techniques. It was especially true for the War Dragon Legion. A majority of the War Dragon Legion members consisted of physical classes, and every one was an expert among experts. Normally, they were capable of soloing a special elite of the same level, and some were even capable of putting up a good fight against a chieftain of the same level. Elite players could become elites in the first place not solely because of their levels being above average, it was more due to the fact that they could solo an elite monster of the same level. Hence, they were called elite players. Meanwhile, in the eyes of God's domain's ordinary players, experts were individuals capable of soloing a special elite of the same level. As for top-tier experts, in the eyes of ordinary players, they were individuals who could contend with a chieftain of the same level. Chieftains were normally bosses in party dungeons. Every member of the War Dragon Legion, at the barest minimum, was capable of confronting a chieftain of the same level by themselves. Some were even capable of killing a chieftain of the same level. Having these experts deal with 4 or 5 elite players simultaneously was a trivial matter. They might even be able to defeat 4 or 5 elite players without losing a single HP. It was just like how a chieftain could easily defeat 4 or 5 elite monsters. In the blink of an eye, the 1,000 members of the War Dragon Legion had already killed close to 3,000 Zero-Wing members without suffering even a single fatality. If not for many of the War Dragon Legion's members and the Blood Legion holding back the Tier 1 NPC guards, Zero-Wing's death count would have been much higher by now. However, compared to the War Dragon Legion's captain, Martial Dragon, these ordinary members of the War Dragon Legion were nothing. Martial Dragon was like a silver storm. Everywhere he passed, a rain of blood would follow. When half a dozen elite members of Zero-Wing dashed up to Martial Dragon, they were instantly struck by Martial Dragon's bone-chilling and immeasurably heavy aura, their complexions turning pale and movements becoming extraordinarily sluggish. Immediately after, multiple red streaks of light weaved across their bodies, sending them flying into the air. In the next moment, blood poured out like a fountain from multiple wounds. When these elites returned to the ground, a piece of equipment dropped beside them. Their bodies were no longer capable of movement. The War Dragon Legion is truly frightening. There are many among them who are even stronger than I am. That Martial Dragon is especially impressive. If I fought him, I'm not confident that I could even block a handful of moves before he defeated me. It is no wonder why people are saying that the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion strength is the closest to a super guild. This Martial Dragon can indeed put up a fight against those old fellows, Galaxy Past stated incredulously. Super guilds had not become such because of their massive financial prowess or their large army of experts. The true reason was those inhuman experts that stood at the very top of the virtual gaming world. Martial Dragon had precisely the potential to become such an expert. I heard that Martial Dragon is a talent that only appears once every 10 years in the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion. It seems that this was not an exaggeration. Purple Eye watched Martial Dragon's figure that resembled a god of war, awe and anticipation, as well as some hints of jealousy, filling her eyes. To experts like herself, it was an instinct to revere the strong. At the same time, she also wished to challenge those powerhouses who stood at the summit. Martial Dragon was someone who had already obtained the right to challenge such individuals, so how could she not be jealous? Purple Eye even considered exchanging a few moves with Martial Dragon right this instant. Even though she knew she was no match for the man, the exchange would still benefit her immensely. If an expert wished to improve themselves quickly, they could not just rely on self-research and experimenting. They needed to fight various other experts, using the experience to learn and improve their own shortcomings. Only then could they improve quickly. While Purple Eye focused on Martial Dragon's every move, hoping to learn something through his actions, she suddenly noticed Martial Dragon's gaze shift to another location, his eyes revealing both traces of shock and excitement. Turning to look where Martial Dragon had shifted his attention to, Purple Eye similarly found herself shocked. Who is that person? Purple Eye's small mouth widened as if she had just seen a ghost. She had just watched 3 War Dragon Legion members die instantly. That's right. All 3 of them were killed in the blink of an eye. Moreover, they were the experts of the War Dragon Legion, not some noobs that could be found on the streets. Against multiple of such experts, not even Purple Eye was confident that she could emerge victorious. Yet, that person had succeeded. Moreover, she had done so with ease. After a moment of shock, Purple Eye was finally able to get a clear view of that player. Possessing an alluring appearance, she wore form-fitting black leather armor that fully displayed the graceful and mesmerizing curves of her body. She also wielded 2 blood-red short swords that emitted dazzling flames. At this moment it was as if she stood at the center of Zero-Wing's residence. That is Fire Dance? Purple Eye dared not even believe her own eyes right now. Chapter 552, Enviable Zero Wing. Purple Eye repeatedly rubbed her eyes and did a double take at the alluring figure. In the end, she was 100% sure she had not seen wrong. Why is this so different from what was reported? Purple Eye had read many reports on Zero Wing. The Star Alliance had gathered on every noteworthy expert in Zero Wing. There were also videos of every one of these noteworthy experts. Fire Dance was one of the few most noteworthy experts in Zero Wing. Hence, Purple Eye had a very good understanding of Fire Dance's strength. However, the data on Fire Dance had only noted her as a top-tier expert and that she was only barely able to contend with a chieftain of the same level. Hence, Purple Eye had not placed any importance on Fire Dance at all. Only Aqua Rose could be considered a worthy foe for her. Fire Dance had not even ranked on her list. Now, however, Fire Dance had easily defeated 3 top-tier experts. How could this strength not shock Purple Eye? It was especially true for that blade-like aura surrounding Fire Dance. Even while watching from such a distance, she could feel a sense of great danger with that aura. It felt as if Fire Dance could appear right before her at any time and launch an attack. With such a dazzling and dangerous aura, it was difficult for Fire Dance not to attract attention. Not to mention, there were many experts present on the battlefield, and every one of them possessed the sensitivity of a mouse. These experts detected the source of the danger instantly. 4 of the War Dragon Legion members closest to Fire Dance charged towards Fire Dance simultaneously. As if they had planned this, they coordinated their actions perfectly, launching an attack from all sides. Facing the encirclement of the 4 legionnaires, Fire Dance's figure swayed slightly. In the next moment, only an afterimage remained in her place, denying the legionnaires their chance to strike. Immediately, she dashed towards the closest level 27 assassin, the 2 flame-red short swords in her hands transforming into multiple blades of light that struck like vipers. As a member of the War Dragon Legion, the assassin was no ordinary player. When faced with this sudden attack, instead of retreating, he advanced. The assassin quickly saw through the trajectory of Fire Dance's short swords. Brandishing his own daggers, he deflected her attacks. One after another. After deflecting the swords of light, the assassin kicked at Fire Dance. "You're still too green," the assassin sneered. Attacks were not limited to the player's weapons. A player could use their body to attack as well. However, most players had adopted the mindset that one could only launch melee attacks with their weapons, nothing else. Hence, they would normally focus their attention on an enemy's weapons and hands. This unexpected kick right now would cost Fire Dance her life. At this moment, however, a berserker, who was a short distance away from the assassin, shouted, "Little Six, behind you." Thanks to the warning, the assassin called Little Six suddenly noticed that he had only kicked an afterimage. Behind? Little Six suddenly felt his back grow cold. His many years of combat experience and acute senses alerted him that someone was behind him. Immediately, he tried to bend his body forward in an attempt to dodge the incoming attack. However, Fire Dance did not use her short swords to attack at all. Instead, the instant she circled to the assassin's back, her slender leg kicked the assassin's thigh. Caught unprepared, the strike sent the assassin spinning into the air. Immediately after, Fire Dance swiped her blade across the assassin's throat. Overall, her actions were simple and direct with no wasted movement whatsoever. At this moment, she looked just like a veteran killer. By the time the 3 other War Dragon Legion members caught up to Fire Dance, this assassin had become a disembodied soul under Fire Dance's swords. Although the entire process seemed slow, in reality, everything had happened in the blink of an eye. In the time it took Fire Dance to steal the assassin's life, the legionnaires had only crossed a distance of 10 yards. When the 3 legionnaires arrived before the female player, they slid to a halt, their eyes locked onto Fire Dance's seductive body. At this moment, they no longer dared to approach this charming, yet deadly assassin casually. "Purple, why haven't I heard anything about this Fire Dance? She can actually slaughter 3 War Dragon Legion members so easily." Even now, facing 4 legionnaires simultaneously, She dealt with one of them swiftly. Could she be a new talent that some super guild has recently nurtured? Galaxy Past asked, unable to help his shock. As the guild leader of a first-rate guild, he was very well informed regarding the virtual gaming world. Even so, from the information he had received, there was no news about a character named Fire Dance. However, his knowledge of super guild's activities was limited. As Purple Eye was someone who had come from a super guild, she should have a better understanding of super guilds. Moreover, judging from how Fire Dance had defeated the members of the War Dragon Legion so efficiently, she definitely wasn't someone new to gaming. Normally, only experts nurtured by super guilds possessed such outstanding skills. Guild leader, although I, too, think that she might be a new talent from some super guild, from what I have seen of her techniques, I can say with certainty that no super guild has nurtured her. Her every move looks more like she is fighting a real battle. Her attacks do not resemble combat techniques used in a virtual reality game, Purple Eye said, a bitter smile on her face. That makes sense. Galaxy Past nodded, a hint of jealousy surfacing in his heart. Why was he jealous? It was because Fire Dance wasn't the only person performing exceptionally on this battlefield. There was also the Guardian Knight Cola, the Assassin Flying Shadow, and many other members of Zero Wing. The combat power each of them displayed was extraordinary. Only, Fire Dance shone brightest of them all. Zero Wing could not even be considered a second-rate guild, yet it possessed so many experts. Hence, how could he not grow jealous? So what if Zero Wing has a lot of experts? So what if you can pick a fight with first-rate guilds? Now that you've offended the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, today will be your last. Watching the battle from afar, while Feng Xianyang was envious, he also celebrated Zero Wing's misfortune. Inside Zero Wing's residence, although Fire Dance and the other core members of Zero Wing were wantonly slaughtering the members of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, at the end of the day, its enemy was still the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. As the strongest legion in the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion, the War Dragon Legion would not be taken down by just a few experts. Immediately, a large number of experts began to circle Zero Wing's few top-tier experts. However, Fire Dance's situation was slightly unique from the others. Only one person came forth to deal with her. This person's appearance immediately attracted many people's attention. He was none other than the War Dragon Legion's commander, Martial Dragon, the man that stood at the apex of the War Dragon Legion. You're very skilled. Join the War Dragon Legion. I guarantee that you will immediately become one of its party leaders. After some training, you can even become the vice commander, Martial Dragon proposed as his gaze took in Fire Dance's figure. The members of the War Dragon Legion were stunned. They had never thought that Martial Dragon's evaluation of Fire Dance would be so high as to offer her the position of vice commander. The highest position in the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion belonged to the Pavilion Master, and following that was the commander of the War Dragon Legion. As for the vice commander, that person would definitely be the third most influential person within the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion. There were countless experts within the Heavenly Dragon Pavilion hoping to climb the ladder to become the vice commander. And now, that position was already at Fire Dance's fingertips. You sure are insincere. I am the commander of Zero Wing's core team. Why should I head over to your side to become a measly little vice commander? Fire Dance revealed a playful smile. She was not interested in the position of vice commander in the slightest. It seems you still do not know what significance the position of vice commander holds, nor do you know the significance of the position of commander. Then, I'll show you just what the commander of the War Dragon Legion is. Martial Dragon was not at all angered by Fire Dance's refusal. Unsheathing his blood-red greatsword, step after step, he slowly walked towards Fire Dance. With every step that Martial Dragon took, the aura surrounding his body grew stronger. The instant Martial Dragon reached 10 yards away from Fire Dance, the latter almost retreated several steps instinctually, increasing the distance between them. At this moment, Fire Dance's expression had become extraordinarily grim, as if she were greeting a great enemy. Oh. Sure enough, I wasn't mistaken. You are able to see it, Martial Dragon laughed, becoming more satisfied with Fire Dance. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.